Distinguished guests and dear colleagues, a warm good evening. I thank you all for taking your time out of your busy schedule and marking these hours with your glorious presence. Divine chants and thoughts, they bring in positivity and ward off evil, making way for happiness. Respecting our rich tradition and custom, let's begin today's function with the prayer. I invite the Recreation Club members for the prayer.
Ya kundendu tushara haradhavala Ya shupravastravritha Ya veena varadanda mandidakara Ya Shveda Padmasana Ya Brahmachuda Shankara Prakriti Devai Sada Pujita Samam Padu Saraswati Bhagavati Nishesha Jadhyapaha.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to receive you all today as we celebrate this year's Audit Diwas. This year's celebration has given us plenty of privileges to enlighten the citizens about the long and illustrious history of the organization, to rededicate ourselves and contribute the maximum towards good governance. This is a glorious opportunity for the field offices of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India to host this seminar on public sector management in Kerala. Kerala is rich with 144 PSUs, one among the highest in the country. PSUs in Kerala consist of state government companies and statutory corporations. These are established to carry out activities of commercial nature, keeping in view the welfare of the people. The state PSUs occupy a major role in the economy, contributing 4% of state GDP. We expect more PSUs to record positive growth and attain profit margin in the coming fiscals. However, is that enough? For a sector which holds more than 20% of government employment, is the productivity efficient? In addition to the 18 crore investment from state governments, they also have received subsidies and grants from the government. If so, is the performance of PSUs up to mark? Frequent changes of managing directors, less profitability, underutilized productivity, the sector faces many issues. Even then, the PSUs have the caliber, source, and role to position Kerala as one of the best economically stable states in India. Today, we are here to discuss the potential, issues, and future of public sector undertakings in Kerala. We are honored with the presence of famous economists, eminent personalities from various fields to talk over the topic. As we begin today's celebration, I invite our respected Senior Deputy Accountant General Administration, Audit 2, Srimati Yashoda Ma'am, to welcome the gathering.
Good evening to everyone. Respected Chief Guest Sri TKA Nair, respected Chief Guest Professor Oman sir, respected Febi Varghese sir, respected former Accountant General Kerala President IPAI Sri James K. Joseph sir, respected Principal Accountant General Dr. Biju Jacob sir, and respected Principal Accountant General Madam G. Sudharmini, and respected Principal Accountant General Srimati Animcherian Madam, and distinguished members of the Institute of Public Auditors of India, and my dear colleagues, and all the I&AD officers who are present here. Audit Diwas is celebrated to mark the historic origin of the institution of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, merging the presidencies of Bengal, Madras and Bombay on 16th November 1860, and the day on which first Auditor General Sir Edmund Romando took charge as the CAG. Ever since its formation, a lot of changes took place. The auditors are changed, the nature of expenditure has been changed, and the nature of revenue has undergone changes. Private players share the expenditure of government for creating infrastructure, etc. But all the time, our goal has been the same, the consolidated fund, the government exchequer, the government purse. Every time, the audit remained the part of good governance, pointing out the mismatch of the expenditure with rules and acts, unfruitful expenditure, and so on. The basic essence too remains the same, that CAG is an independent constitutional authority who is neither the part of legislature nor the executive, though appointed by the president. Over the years, the department functions and activities increased tremendously due to major development in the government policies, increasing investment in the development expenditure and sectorial outlays, and rapid growth of public sector enterprises. Fiscal status of the state is a major aspect while funding various departmental activities of the state. The industries play a major role in our economy. The economic growth of any state is looked upon by the financial expert globally. Today's seminar on public sector management in Kerala, which deals with the resources pumped into the industries and their outcome are and each inputs are valuable for us, and we eagerly look forward for the kind responses. With this, I step on my assignment that it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome chief guest and the delegates. Sri T.K. Nair, sir, former Chief Secretary of Punjab, Secretary to Government of India in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Later he served as the former Secretary in the Prime Minister's office and he served as the advisor to the Prime Minister during Dr. Manmohan Singh from 2004 to 2014, and he has served us in many portfolio in his tenure. Presently, he is the Managing Trustee of Citizens India Foundation, a charitable trust, and the Executive Vice President of Kerala Blood Bank Society. Sir has been accepted our invitation and kindly consented to be the chief guest. I respectfully welcome you, sir, on behalf of the field officers of the CAG of India in Kerala to the seminar. Shri Professor Uman sir, we are honored with presence of Shri Uman sir. The articles on economy, finances, etc. gives us better understanding on these topics for us many times. Oman sir is an economist and academic from Kerala, India. He wrote several books and published many articles on issues such as democracy, development, decentralization, and economy of Kerala and India. Sir is very kind enough to accept our invitation and present a topic here in the seminar. And wholeheartedly, I welcome you, sir, for the seminar. Dr. Phoebe Varghese, sir, a versatile manager of PSUs, both in private and public sector undertaking, an academic, business administration expert, chief executive officer, a financial analyst, internally experienced in operations of multilateral developments. Sir has accepted our invitation and agreed to give the presentation in this seminar. I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, on behalf of the field officers of CAG of India and IPA of the Kerala. Next, Sri James K. Joseph, sir, former Accountant General, Kerala and President, IPAI, requires no introduction among us. As an AG of Kerala, he had left his footprints that so many members of officials still cherish. With profound respect, I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the field officers of the CAG of India to the seminar. Dr. Viju Jacob, sir, our respected Principal Accountant General, has been behind each and every efforts for this celebration of Audit Diwas, and without his guidance, this day would not have been successful. I, with great reverence, welcome you, sir, to the seminar. Mrs. Sudharmini, Madam, Principal Accountant General, has been a source of encouragement for organizing the functions connected with the Audit Diwas and this seminar. I very sincerely welcome you, Madam, for this seminar. Mrs. Animcherian, Madam, Principal Accountant General, has been a supporting force for organizing the functions connected with the Audit Diwas and this seminar. I very sincerely welcome you, Madam, to this seminar. The distinguished members of the API needs no introduction since they are belongs to our fraternity. I welcome them to the seminar. In addition to this, I welcome all my colleagues and all the officers of INDD, those who are present in here to the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you for the warm welcome, ma'am. The occasion is adorned with the presence of our chief guest, Sri T.K.A. Nair, Totuvelil Krishnan Pillai Ayyappan Nair. Born to Sri Krishna Pillai and Srimadi Bharati Amma. It's my honor and privilege to invite Sri T.K. Nair sir to enlighten us with his words. Please, sir.
The respected Professor Umman, I think in his presence, there's no need for anybody else to talk about Kerala's economy or the role of the public sector in Kerala and how the public sector has been contributing or otherwise to the economic and social development of Kerala. So, sir, I am looking forward to listening to you. I read what you write, but I'm sure in this context of the contribution of public sector or the role of the public sector and the role of the audit in the functioning of public sector, I would very greatly look forward to your views. And I have my friend James, who, and he and I worked together. Of course, he was the executive and I was only an ornamental chairman of the Kerala State Industrial Development Corporation for a few years. And other distinguished persons on the dais, Principal Accountant General Madam Sudharmini, Mr. Dr. Fabi Varghese, Srimadi Adnacharian, Srimadi Sri P.K. Lalu. I'm sorry, I don't have the other names. You forgive me because I do not know all of you. And although I'm not as old as Professor Umman, I am also sufficiently old and my memory is fading. So therefore, I can't remember names and, connect it with the faces of people sometimes. So I don't take the name of all of you to say how happy I am to be in your midst on this day, which, as we were told in the welcome address, is an occasion which the audit profession has of late been observing very annually. Well, I have no intention of talking in detail about the audit function per se in the public sector undertakings, because first of all, I do not know much about it. And secondly, I believe that for an audience like this, more than the nitty-gritty of the working of the audit department or the audit function, it might be more appropriate to know a little bit about the background against which all these public sector undertakings have come into being. And I'm not sort of encroaching upon the domain of Professor Umman, but let us all remember that the time when the public sector concept itself evolved or was put into practice in the country, the economy was totally different. You see, we lived in an economy where, as they say, we used to live from the pot to the kitchen. We depended more on PL 480, import of wheat from the United States for our survival. And there are many, many other areas where we were far, far obviously behind what we are today. And most of us today, therefore, have a tendency to forget what India was all about at the time when India got independence in the year 1947. Well, unfortunately, I think that's something which is unpardonable, because those of us who live today and enjoy or even suffer, put it that way also, whatever we have or whatever we don't have, all these things have evolved, not in the last 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. These things have come about, have developed over a period of 70, 75 years. Let's remember that. Today, we are exporting food grains. We have a surplus of sugar. We are exporting milk and milk products. So there are so many areas in which we have become totally self-sufficient or self-reliant. But this self-reliance has been brought about by a number of factors which were brought into play by people in positions of authority at different points of time. Needless to say, the prime ministers of India and the cabinets in the case of the union, and the state chief ministers and the state governments, all of them, whether they lasted 1 year or 2 years or 10 years, all of them, they were all elected people, and all of them have had in their heart of hearts the good of the people, the welfare of the people. No government would ever work against the welfare or the development of the welfare of the people or the development of the state. Of course, political parties, in their eagerness to say that one party is better than the other, or for the sake of votes, they may denigrate each other. But all of us realize, and we should realize, that it's a democracy, it's a democratic system of government, and we are governed by the people whom we entrust with that task. So there is a lot of difference between governance under a democratic system of governance, of democracy, a democratic system, and a system which is not so. Here, all functionaries of government, including the chief executive at the center and the state, they are all accountable to people. We are accountable, not to the people directly, but these people who come every 5 years or 10 years or perhaps more frequently, they are directly accountable to the people. They are the ones who have to face the music, not us. That is not the scheme of things under which we function. We have a constitution which is supreme. There is, we are a quasi-federal republic. We are not a totally federal state, federal country like the United States or Canada. We are a quasi-federal state with, a strong central government. That's the scheme of things under which we work. We have got the 3 pillars of governance: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, and the constitution envisages harmonious working of these institutions of government, though they are independent of each other in terms of the constitutional provisions. Nobody is supreme all over. Everyone, every institution is supreme in its area as envisaged under the constitution. So, successive elected governments in this country, particularly in the formative years of our independence, very, very, very thoughtfully, of course, necessity was very much there, envisaged a role for the state to play in activities which in developed countries are performed by other institutions. So we call the public sector the private sector, and for a long time, even today, we have an argument occasionally, what is the relevance of the public sector? And the public sector has been, they have been, a burden on the state. They are loss making, they are this, they are that. But, my dear friends, I would like to remind you once again, I'm sure most of you are aware of it, that the state was given a very specific role to play in the socio-economic development of the country. And that continued over a period of time. You remember the 5-year plans, the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. These 5-year plans were instruments, policy instruments of the governments of those days to implement the socio-economic policies of the state. So, public sector undertakings, like other institutions, more than any other institution of government, was at one point of time thought to be instruments for implementing the socio-economic policies of government. We normally believe, I mean, that's the normal understanding also, that these activities which are in the domain of the public sector undertakings, they are more of a commercial nature. Well, we all think so. Generally, that is perhaps correct also. But, according to my understanding, many activities which are not strictly economic in that sense only, which are not strictly amenable to the practices or the laws of commerce and trade, they have been implemented by the governments, the state governments as well as the government of India, through many of its undertakings. So some of us may not remember that when India became independent, I mean, as I mentioned to you about the food, about other basic, the basic things which are required for developing an economy, like iron and steel, power. These were not industries which came up through private initiative. First of all, private initiative was limited. There was nothing called a big stock exchange, and the capability of the private sector to garner large amounts of investment for long-term investment in these basic industries was lacking. So in the beginning, during the Nehruvian years of economic development, for developing the basic industries, very great stress was laid, and consequently you have had all those large companies, the the Durgapur steel plant, the Bhilai steel plant, and power projects, all these things came into being. Subsequently, many other activities which were considered necessary by the governments of the day, many of them were brought under the fold of the public sector companies. I have some, not intimate knowledge, some knowledge of some of these central public sector undertakings, and of course, Kerala we know, you know more than I do. Kerala also do have undertakings which are not strictly amenable to the laws of trade and commerce. Well, you have a look at the nomenclature of the public sector undertakings in Kerala, with which we are more familiar. You see a large number of activities which perhaps could have been done by private initiative. They have been taken by the government for the simple reason, I believe, that under the aegis of the government, those institutions could perhaps, more effectively function for achieving the socio-economic objectives. So my friends in the audit field and others who look at public sector undertakings, I have one very humble request, that look at the objectives for which that corporation was set up, and to what extent those objectives are being served through its functioning. Well, to my mind, of course, profit and loss is very important. You cannot afford to have a company which is losing heavily and eroding its capital over a period of time. No, I'm not meaning that. But my point is that making profit in the normal sense of the term, which is defined in a balance sheet or whatever, to my mind, that is not the sole objective for which these institutions were set up by the state governments. You look at the institutions of the state, and read their objectives, those objectives will spell out what they are expected to do. And the activities which they undertake have got to be in consonance with the with the socio-economic objectives. Take an activity like tourism, take an activity like, developing the infrastructure for more industries to come up. Take into account an institution which has been, or which was set up for promoting industry or promoting some other particular activity in which the state was interested. Because the state believed that by promoting tourism, we are contributing to the socio-economic development of the state. So my basic point is that whether you are an auditor, whether you are an economist, or whatever may be the speciality or the special interest of yours, I think those of us who look at the functioning of public sector undertakings and try to evaluate their functioning must clearly understand what is the socio-economic objective for which these institutions are set up. Now, having said that, let me hasten to add that when you look at that, the most important, what you call parameter is the governance part of that public sector undertaking. Whether it is a civil supplies corporation or a road transport corporation or an electricity board, the governance of those institutions is extremely important for achieving the socio-economic objectives. And if it's not the structure, it's the way in which the people in the organization work. And there, unless we have clarity, unless we are really committed, I am using that word deliberately, committed, not just as a job to be done and then forgotten, as a commitment, unless we absorb that, I think that institution would lack, what you call the soul of it. Let me put it that way. And most regrettably, unfortunately, it's not only in Kerala. I had the opportunity of serving another state government also. Many times, for a number of reasons, the governance of these public sector institutions suffer. And the most visible part of it is the very short tenures of the chief executives. And the way in which, first of all, the way in which they are selected, and even if, selection is not according to professional norms, once you put a man in charge of it, you have to give him some time to perform. But if you transfer them, at will, right, left and center, without giving them any opportunity to think of something, to organize and to wait for results, if they are shuffled around, I think that is the undoing of the public sector. So to my mind, when an auditor or whoever is called to look at the performance of public sector, I think with reference to the structure of the organization, the chief executive, whatever is the name that you give, his tenure of office and the autonomy that you give to him to function, that is extremely important. So I would like to emphasize only these two aspects. One is about the socio-economic objectives which inform this public sector, and therefore the difference between a company run by it may not be an exact example because the Tatas and the Birlas and the others, they also have now their social responsibility, commitment, etc., etc. But basically there was a time when we all believed that a company has got to make profit, nothing more than that. And with that profit, the government takes by way of tax a part of it, and the socio-economic objectives are met through that. And the company has to concentrate only on making profit. But that concept is no longer valid. Companies are very actively promoting developmental activities, and under the law, they are also now required to, to set apart a certain part of a certain portion of their profit for, for these what you call social responsibility activities. Well, friends, I made these 2 points in the hope that that sometime or the other you would be able to, you know, to think about it. Even if you don't think about it, if you have at the back of your mind, you know, these ideas, perhaps, to my mind, the performance of your audit function as audit officers, either as individuals or as a team, to my mind, would be in total consonance with the objectives for which these institutions, the accounts of which you are going to audit. You know, friends, I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I was telling Professor Umman that I do not know, I am not used to, and I just cannot, you know, sit down and write a speech and read it out. I am unable to do that. I thought about doing it several times because I, like many others, have a tendency to go astray. You know, you start with something, we end with something else. But I think that is, you know, those who choose to hear me will have to. I mean, you have no choice, I know that, because somebody else decided that I should speak to you. But anyway, forget about that. I'm very happy to be in your midst. I mean, such bright people performing such an important function, which I think would go a long way in ensuring that the objectives for which successive governments, elected governments of the country, of the state, have created these organizations. Well, in the case of Kerala, successive governments of Kerala who have promoted these different corporations. About, you know, I have different opinions about various things, but I'm not going to go into that. You know, you may agree, you may not agree, there may be overlapping, all kinds of things are there. But fundamentally, I think when you do the audit point of view, instead of saying that, you know, this was not according to this or that, we do that, that's a part of it. But, you know, that's only the you know, the small part of it. The bigger part of it is to bring out whether according to the assessment in terms of your audit, this corporation has performed the role which has been assigned to it, what it can do over a period of 1 year. If that, to my mind, function is performed, that will be in the interest of, you know, the corporation, the state, and to my mind, you would be performing an extremely important social objective, a social function, also more than a purely government accounting function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and we really hope that we will bring on more PSUs and achieve their socio-economic objectives and profit out of their balance sheet, sir. Now, as a token of appreciation and love, we are now handing over a memento to Sri T.K. Nair, sir. To receive the memento, I humbly invite, sir, and to hand over the memento, I invite Principal Accountant General A&D, Srimati G. Sudhamani, ma'am. Please, ma'am. Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now, we are starting the seminar on public sector management in Kerala. This seminar will be moderated by Dr. Biju Jacob, sir, Principal Accountant General, led by Sri James K. Joseph, sir, former Accountant General and present President of IPAI, attended by Professor M.A. Umman, sir, Dr. Febi Varghese, sir, and Sri Isaac Kuti, sir. The Principal Accountant General Audit 2, Dr. Biju Jacob, sir, the moderator for today's seminar, belongs to the 1993 batch of IA and AS service. He was also the Chief Controller of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Tumba, prior to joining this office. He has an MBBS degree from Medical College, Kottayam, and MBA from the College of Engineering, Thiruvananthapuram, and LLB from University of Kerala. He is also an ACL certified data analyst. He has also held various important assignments as auditor for World Bank, aided Gujarat earthquake relief in 2001, and as trainer for Auditor General in Botswana. His leadership qualities, inquisitive mind, keen insight, and the motivating words are always an inspiration to us. He is also a well-known orator. It's my honor and privilege to invite Dr. Biju Jacob sir to take over the stage for introducing the team. Please, sir.
ഏറ്റവും ആദരണീയനായ ടി കെ എൻ ആർ സാർ, പ്രശസ്ത സാമ്പത്തിക വിദഗ്ധൻ ഉമ്മൻ സാബ്, എൻ്റെ ആദ്യത്തെ അക്കൗണ്ടൻറ്റ് ജനറൽ ആയിരുന്ന ജെയിംസ് കെ ജോസഫ് സാർ, ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസ്, സുധർമണി മാഡം, അനിം ചെറിയ, മിസ്റ്റർ ഐസക്കുട്ടി, സദസ്സിലുള്ള വിശിഷ്ട വ്യക്തികളെ, സഹപ്രവർത്തകരെ, ഇത് ഒരു അക്കാഡമിക് സെമിനാറാണ്. സോ വി ക്യാൻ എക്സ്ചേഞ്ച് വ്യൂസ് വെരി ഫ്രീക്വൻ്റ്ലി. അത് നമുക്ക് ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് എക്സ്ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യാം. എന്നാൽ ഗഹനമായ ഒരു വിഷയമായതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ ഈ വിഷയം അവതരിപ്പിക്കുന്നത് 2 എക്സാമ്പിൾസ് കൊണ്ട് ആണ് ഞാൻ ഈ വിഷയം അവതരിപ്പിക്കാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പം പഴയ ചില IPIക്കാർക്കും ഹാർഡ് കോർ ആൾക്കാർക്ക് തോന്നും ഇത്രയും തീവ്രവാദമാകാമോ എന്ന് ചിന്തിക്കാം. എങ്കിലും വിഷയം അവതരിപ്പിക്കേണ്ട, അതിനാണ് ഞാൻ ആദ്യമേ ജാമ്യം എടുത്തത്. ഇതൊരു അക്കാഡമിക് സെഷനാണ്. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് എ പോളിസി മേക്കിംഗ് ബോഡി. ഒന്ന്, കാരണം മാർക്ക് 2 കഴിഞ്ഞു, മാർക്ക് 3 കഴിഞ്ഞു, മാർക്ക് 4 കഴിഞ്ഞു, അംബാസഡർ തന്നെ ഇവിടുന്ന് അപ്രത്യക്ഷമായി കഴിഞ്ഞു. പുതിയ ജനറേഷൻ വെഹിക്കിൾസ്, ഒരു പണിയും വേണ്ടാത്ത പുതിയ ലേറ്റസ്റ്റ് വെഹിക്കിൾസ് എന്നുള്ള സമയത്ത്. പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ ഒരു സുഹൃത്ത് ഡോക്ടർക്ക് പളപള മിന്നുന്ന ഒരു അംബാസഡർ കാറുണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് അത് 1972 മോഡലാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഫാദർ ഒരു ഡോക്ടറായിരുന്നു. ആ ഡോക്ടറായിരുന്നുകൊണ്ട് ആ ഫാദർ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിരുന്ന അതേ പ്രശസ്തനായ തിരുവനന്തപുരത്തെ ഒരു ഡോക്ടറായിരുന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ട് ആ ഫാദർ ഉപയോഗിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരുന്ന അംബാസഡർ കാറ് അദ്ദേഹം ഇപ്പോഴും അതേപോലെ മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് അതേപോലെ അത് ഓടിക്കുന്നു. ഏറ്റവും അതിനേക്കാളൊക്കെ എന്നെ അത്ഭുതപ്പെടുത്തിയത് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ മകളുടെ വിവാഹത്തിന് പെൺകുട്ടി വന്നിറങ്ങിയതും ഈ മാർക്ക് 2 അംബാസഡർ കാറിലാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പലപ്പോഴും അദ്ദേഹത്തോട് ചോദിക്കാറുണ്ട്, വൈ യു ആർ യൂസിങ് ദിസ് മാർക്ക് 2 അംബാസഡർ കാർ? അപ്പം പുള്ളി പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ അതൊരു പോളിസി ഡിസിഷനാണ്. യെസ്, ഹി ഹാസ് ദ റൈറ്റ്. അതൊരു പോളിസി ഡിസിഷനാണ്. ശരിയല്ലേ? ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഹിസ് മണി, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ പൈസ, അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ താല്പര്യം. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിനു വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് പൈസ ചെലവഴിച്ച് അദ്ദേഹം ഇതിനെ മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് നടക്കുന്നു. പലപ്പോഴും 1948 ITCയിൽ നിന്ന് തുടങ്ങിയ ഇന്ത്യൻ പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടറിൻ്റെ ജേണി നോക്കുമ്പോഴും പലപ്പോഴും ഈ മാർക്ക് 2 അംബാസഡർ കാറിനെ പോലെയാണ്. ഒരു കാലത്ത് അത് മാത്രമേ നമുക്കുണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. അതായിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ ഏക ആശ്രയം. പക്ഷേ ഇന്ന് കാര്യങ്ങളും സാഹചര്യങ്ങളും വല്ലാതെ മാറിയിരിക്കുന്നു. കേരളമാണ് ഒരുപക്ഷെ ഇന്ത്യയിലെ തന്നെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ യൂണിറ്റ്സ് ഉള്ള സംസ്ഥാനം. ഏതാണ്ട് സർക്കാർ ജീവനക്കാരൻ 5.5 ലക്ഷമുള്ള സ്ഥാനത്ത് പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ ജീവനക്കാർ ഏകദേശം 1 ലക്ഷമുണ്ട്. കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ GSDP-യിലെ പക്ഷേ ഏതാണ്ട് 2-3% മാത്രമേ പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടറിന് കോൺട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നുള്ളൂ. രസകരമായ 2 കണക്കൂടെ പറഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ശ്രദ്ധയിലേക്ക് വരും. 1 ലക്ഷം പേരാണ്. ഈ 1 ലക്ഷം പേർക്ക് ജോലി കൊടുക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന തുക 20,000 കോടി രൂപയാണ്. ഇവർക്ക് ഒരു വർഷത്തേക്കിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഗവൺമെൻറ് കൊടുക്കുന്ന തുക 4,000 കോടി രൂപയാണ്. അതിനെ കുറച്ചുകൂടെ പെർ ക്യാപിറ്റ ലെവലിൽ പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരാൾക്ക് ഈ ജോലി കൊടുക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് 18 lakhs. ഒരു വർഷത്തെ അവരുടെ ആ കമ്പനി ഓടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് പോകുന്നതിന് ഒരാൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ചിലവാക്കുന്ന രൂപ 4 ലക്ഷം രൂപ. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിനെ മറ്റൊരു കണക്കുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധിപ്പിച്ചാലേ ഇതിൻ്റെ ആ പ്രാധാന്യം മനസ്സിലാവുള്ളൂ. നമുക്ക് ഈ 1 ലക്ഷം പേര് ഉള്ള ഒരു കുടുംബത്തിന് ഒരു 5 പേര് അവരെ ഡിപ്പെൻഡൻ്റ് ആണ് എന്ന് നമ്മൾ വിചാരിക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ അതായത് 5 ലക്ഷം ആൾക്കാരുടെ കാര്യത്തിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് ഇത് ചെലവഴിക്കുന്നത്. നമുക്ക് കേരളത്തിന് മനോഹരമായ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ സെക്യൂരിറ്റി പെൻഷൻ നടപ്പിലാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. 1600 രൂപ വെച്ച് ദാരിദ്ര്യരേഖയ്ക്ക് താഴെയുള്ളവർക്ക് കൊടുക്കാനുള്ള പെൻഷൻ. അത് കൊടുക്കുന്നത് 55 ലക്ഷം ആൾക്കാർക്കാണ്. 55 ലക്ഷം ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഒരു വർഷം പെൻഷൻ കൊടുക്കാൻ വേണ്ട തുക 20,000 രൂപ മതി. 55 ലക്ഷം ആൾക്കാർക്ക് പെൻഷൻ കൊടുക്കാനായിട്ട് 8,000 കോടി രൂപ മതി. അപ്പോൾ എന്ന് മാത്രമല്ല, ഇതിൻ്റെ സാമ്പത്തിക ബാധ്യതകളെപ്പറ്റി, സാമ്പത്തിക കാര്യങ്ങളെപ്പറ്റി ഏറ്റവും ഭംഗിയായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാവുന്ന വ്യക്തിയാണ് നമ്മൾ എടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നത്, പ്രൊഫസർ എം.എ. ഉമ്മൻ. അദ്ദേഹം തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ഇതെങ്ങനെയാണ് പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടറിനെ ഇതിൻ്റെ മേലുള്ള എങ്ങനെയാണ്, വാട്ട് ഈസ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ഇമ്പാക്റ്റ്. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ, ഡോക്ടറുടെ അംബാസഡർക്കാർ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് നല്ല ഒരു ചിലവ് വരുത്തുന്നുണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ പോളിസി ഡിസിഷൻ. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ തീരുമാനമാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ അംബാസഡർക്കാർ ഉപയോഗിക്കണോ വേണ്ടോ എന്നുള്ളത്. നമുക്കാർക്കും അതിനെ ചോദ്യം ചെയ്യാനുള്ള അവകാശമില്ല. 2, അതിനകത്തുള്ള ചില പ്രത്യേകതകളെപ്പറ്റി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ചില പോരായ്മകളെപ്പറ്റി ഒരു റിസർച്ച് പേപ്പർ നടത്തി PhD എടുത്തയാളാണ് ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസ്. അദ്ദേഹം തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അനുഭവ സമ്പത്തിൽ നിന്ന് സംസാരിക്കും. ഒരൊറ്റ ഉദാഹരണം മാത്രം പറയാം. നമുക്ക് ഏത് കാര്യത്തെപ്പറ്റി അറിയണമെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിലൊരു പഴഞ്ചൊല്ലുണ്ട്, ആറ്റിൽ കളഞ്ഞാലും അളന്ന് കളയണം. പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടറിനെ പറ്റി നമുക്കൊരളവുണ്ടോ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ടവരെ? ഏതാണ്ട് 144 കമ്പനികളിൽ ഒരു 65 കമ്പനികൾ ഓരോ വർഷത്തെ അക്കൗണ്ട് തരും. അത് ചില കമ്പനികൾ നമുക്ക് തരുന്ന 2016-17 ആയിരിക്കും. വേറെ ചില കമ്പനികൾ അക്കൗണ്ട് തരുന്നത് 18-19 ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസം പറയുകയും ചെയ്തു, നമുക്കൊരു ചെറിയ പ്രോഗ്രാം ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് വെക്കണം. ഓരോ വർഷം എത്ര ഗവൺമെൻറ് പോയി എത്ര കിട്ടി എന്നുള്ളൊരു കാര്യം. ഇത് നിങ്ങളെ ബോറടിപ്പിക്കാതിരിക്കാൻ എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വരുന്ന ഒരു ചെറിയ ഒരു കഥ പറഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ ആ വിഷയത്തിൽ നിന്ന് പോയി രണ്ടാമത്തെ പോയിന്റിലേക്ക് അറിയാം. ഒരിക്കൽ അക്ബറിന് തൻ്റെ രാജസദസ്സിലുള്ളവരോടെല്ലാം ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് ദേഷ്യം വന്ന സമയത്ത് അക്ബർ അവർക്കൊരു ജോലി കൊടുത്തു. ആഗ്രയിൽ എത്ര കാക്കയുണ്ട്? ആഗ്രയിൽ എത്ര കാക്കയുണ്ട് എന്നൊരു ചോദ്യം കൊടുത്തു. ഇത് കേട്ട രാജസദസ്സിലുള്ളവരെല്ലാം പേടിച്ചു. കാര്യം എന്ത് സംഭവിക്കും? ആരാണിത് കാക്കകളെ എണ്ണി നമ്പർ കൊണ്ടുതരാൻ പറ്റുന്നെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും ഒഴിഞ്ഞു മാറി. അക്ബർ ബീർബൽ ധൈര്യപൂർവ്വം ആ ചലഞ്ച് ഏറ്റെടുത്തു. ബീർബൽ പറഞ്ഞു, എനിക്ക് ഒരാഴ്ചത്തെ സമയം തരണം മഹാപ്രഭു, ഒരാഴ്ച കൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ കാക്കകളുടെ എണ്ണം എടുത്ത് തരാമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അങ്ങനെ ഒരാഴ്ച കാക്കകളുടെ എണ്ണം എടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞ് അക്ബർ അന്ന് രാജസദസ്സ് പിരിയുന്ന സമയമായപ്പോൾ അക്ബർ ഓടിക്കതച്ച് വന്ന് രാജാവ് ചോദിച്ചു, കാക്കയുടെ എണ്ണം എടുത്തു പ്രഭു, എത്രയുണ്ട്? 1,46,800 കാക്കകൾ ആഗ്രയിലുണ്ടെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു. കൃത്യമാണോ? കൃത്യമാണ്. ഞാൻ എണ്ണി നോക്കിയാൽ കൂടുതലുണ്ടെങ്കിലോ? വളരെ സിമ്പിളാണ്. ഇവിടുത്തെ കാക്കകളുടെ ബന്ധുക്കൾ അവരെ കാണാൻ വന്നതാണ്. അതിനേക്കാൾ കുറവാണെങ്കിലോ? ഇവിടുത്തെ കാക്കകൾ ബന്ധുക്കളെ കാണാൻ പോയതാണ്. പക്ഷേ ഇവിടെ 1,46,800 മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഞങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഓരോ വർഷത്തെയും പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ അണ്ടർടേക്കിങ്സിൻ്റെ ഒരു വർഷത്തെ ലാഭം 2021-22 എത്ര ലാഭം എടുത്തു എന്ന് നോക്കിയാൽ ഈ കാക്കയെ എണ്ണുന്ന പോലെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ എണ്ണി. ഇതൊരു ഉദാഹരണം. അനേക ഉദാഹരണങ്ങൾ ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസിന് പറയുവാൻ കാണും. നമുക്ക് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് വേണ്ടി കാത്തിരിക്കാം. രണ്ടാമതൊരു കാര്യം, ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെ സൂചിപ്പിച്ചതുപോലെ പതുക്കെ ഈ CAG VT ഭട്ടതിരിപ്പാടിൻ്റെ ആ വാക്കുകളാണ് ഞാൻ എടുത്തത്. അടുക്കളയിൽ നിന്ന് അരങ്ങിലേക്ക് ഇറങ്ങുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം നമ്പൂതിരി അന്തർജനങ്ങൾ അടുക്കളയിൽ നിന്ന് പാചകവും ഒക്കെയായിട്ട് നിൽക്കുന്ന സ്ത്രീകൾ പതുക്കെ അവരിൽ വന്ന ആ റിഫോർമേഷനെ പറ്റിയാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ആ നാടകമുള്ളത്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ CAG വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ജോലിയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്തെ മുന്നോട്ടുള്ള പതുക്കെ അരങ്ങിലേക്ക് വരുന്നതിൻ്റെ ചില പിച്ച വെച്ച് നടക്കുക എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറയും. പിച്ച വെച്ച് നടക്കുകയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഞാൻ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ തൊട്ട് എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിലുള്ള ഒരു സംശയം, ഇത് നമ്മുടെ ഒരു ഇൻറ്റേർണൽ വേദി ആയതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാനൊന്ന് പറയുകയാണ്. എല്ലാ വർഷവും കേന്ദ്ര ഗവൺമെൻറ് ബഡ്ജറ്റ് അവതരിപ്പിക്കും, എല്ലാ സംസ്ഥാനങ്ങളും ബഡ്ജറ്റ് അവതരിപ്പിക്കും. ഈ ബഡ്ജറ്റുകൾ അവതരിപ്പിച്ചതിന് ശേഷം ബഡ്ജറ്റിനെ പറ്റി ചർച്ചകൾ നടക്കും. ഈ ഒരു ചർച്ചയിലും ഒരു ചാനലോ ഒരു പത്രക്കാരനോ ഒരു സ്റ്റേറ്റിലെ അക്കൗണ്ടൻറ്റ് ജനറലിനെ വിളിക്കാറുമില്ല, അവർ സംസാരിക്കാറുമില്ല. വൈ? നമ്മളല്ലേ കണക്ക് മുഴുവൻ കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്? ഇവിടെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ഒരു അക്കൗണ്ടൻറ്റിൻ്റെ റോള്, ഒരു മാനേജറുടെ റോള്, ഒരു എക്കണോമിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ റോൾ എന്നുള്ളൊരു വ്യത്യാസം അല്ലേ. മറ്റൊരു രീതി പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ വേദിയിലിരിക്കുന്ന എൻ്റെ റോള്, ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസിൻ്റെ റോള്, പ്രഗത്ഭനായ ഡോക്ടർ എം.എ. ഉമ്മൻ സാറിൻ്റെ റോള്. ഇതിലേത് റോളാണ് പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ടത്? നമ്മൾ പലപ്പോഴും ഫിഗേഴ്സ് എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ, ഞാനിപ്പം സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഫിനാൻസസ് റിപ്പോർട്ട് എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അവരോട് ചോദിക്കും, അവരത് കൂടി ഇത് കുറഞ്ഞു, അല്പം കൂടി അല്പം കുറഞ്ഞു, കൂടി കുറഞ്ഞു എന്നൊക്കെ പറയും. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, വൈ? എന്താണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ പ്രാധാന്യം? നമ്മളതിലേക്ക് കടക്കാറില്ല. എന്നാൽ ഒരു മാനേജർ വരുമ്പോൾ മാനേജർ അതിൻ്റെ ഇംപ്ലിക്കേഷൻസിലേക്ക് പോകും. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഉമ്മൻ സാറിനെ പോലെയുള്ള ഒരു സാമ്പത്തിക വിദഗ്ധൻ അതുകൊണ്ടുണ്ടാകാവുന്ന പ്രത്യാഘാതങ്ങളെപ്പറ്റി നമ്മളോട് പറയും. ഞാൻ അല്പം കഠിനമായ ഭാഷയാണെങ്കിൽ ഒരല്പം പരിശോധനയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഇടുകയാണ്. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ സ്റ്റാഫിനോട് പറയാറുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യമുണ്ട്, നമ്മൾ ഈ ചെയ്തു വെക്കുന്ന ജോലി ഒരു ലബോറട്ടറി ടെക്നീഷ്യൻ്റെ ജോലിയാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ബ്ലഡ് പരിശോധിച്ചു, ബ്ലഡ് റിസൾട്ട് ഒരു കടലാസിനകത്ത് കുറിച്ച് തന്നു. ഹീമോഗ്ലോബിൻ കൂടി കുറഞ്ഞു, ESR കൂടി കുറഞ്ഞു, പ്ലേറ്റ്ലെറ്റ് കൂടി കുറഞ്ഞു. എന്താ സംഭവം? ഇച്ചിരി കൂടുതലുണ്ട്. എന്തു ചെയ്യണം? നിങ്ങൾ ഡോക്ടറെ കാണണം. നമുക്കൊരു അഡ്വൈസ് കൊടുക്കാനില്ലാത്ത സ്ഥിതിയിലാണ്. അപ്പം അതിനകത്തുനിന്ന് നമ്മൾ പതിയെ അതാണ് നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് ഈ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ വലിയ ഒരു പ്രാധാന്യം. നമ്മൾ കണക്കുകൾ ഓഡിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതിനോടൊപ്പം കണക്കുകൾക്കപ്പുറത്തേക്ക് ആ ലബോറട്ടറി ടെക്നീഷ്യൻ ഒരു ബ്ലഡ് റിസൾട്ടിനെ നോക്കുന്ന നോട്ടത്തിനപ്പുറത്തേക്ക് കടന്ന് അതെന്താണ് ഇംപ്ലിക്കേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയാനുള്ള ഒരു രീതിയിലേക്ക് നമ്മൾ ചുവട് വെക്കേണ്ടത് നമ്മുടെ ആവശ്യമാണ്. അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരു കാൽവെപ്പാണെന്ന് പറയാം. നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ ഓഡിറ്റാണ് എടുക്കേണ്ടത്. പക്ഷേ നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് എടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നത് പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റാണ്. പയ്യെ നമ്മൾ കുറച്ചുകൂടെ ഇഫക്റ്റീവായിട്ട് പോകുന്നു. പ്രഗത്ഭരായ, നമുക്ക് തിരുവനന്തപുരത്ത് ലഭിക്കാവുന്ന ഏറ്റവും പ്രഗത്ഭരായ പ്രഭാഷകരുടെ ഒരു നിരയാണ് നമുക്കുള്ളത്. നമുക്ക് ഇത് ആദ്യം ജെയിംസ് ജോസഫ് സാറ് വിഷയം സംസാരിക്കും, അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ദീർഘമായ പരിചയത്തിൽ നിന്ന്. അതിനുശേഷം ഉമ്മൻ സാർ ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു എക്കണോമിക് ആസ്പെക്റ്റിനെ പറ്റിയും ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസ് ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റിയും സംസാരിക്കും. പക്ഷേ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പലരും ചോദിച്ചതുപോലെ ദർ ഇസ് എ ടൈം ഫോർ ഇൻ്ററാക്ഷൻ. ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കാനും എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങൾ പറയാനുമുള്ള അവസരമുണ്ടായിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ആദ്യം ആ സ്പീക്കേഴ്സിനെ അവരുടെ വിഷയം അവതരിപ്പിച്ച് തീർക്കാൻ അനുവദിക്കുക. അതിനുശേഷം നമുക്ക് ചോദ്യങ്ങളിലേക്ക് കടക്കാം. ഇത്രയും പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ ആദരണീയനായ ജെയിംസ് ജോസഫ് സാറിനെ ക്ഷണിക്കുക.
ഞാൻ ഈ കുപ്പിയായിട്ട് വരുന്ന കണ്ടപ്പോഴേ ഓക്കെ.
IPAI, Institute of Public Auditors of India. IPAI is a not-for-profit organization created to uphold professionalism, objectivity, integrity, and reliability in public accounting, auditing, and other areas of public finance. The CAG is the ex officio patron of the institute. Their motive is to undertake research and developmental activities in the field of public auditing, accounting, and public finance. This is to disseminate information and knowledge to professionals, practitioners, and public servants through diversified training programs and continuing education. It also provides value-added financial and management consultancy services to clients for maximizing their organizational efficiency and effectiveness. This seminar will be led by Sri James K. Joseph sir, the former Accountant General and the President of Institute of Public Auditors of India. He belongs to the 1972 batch of the Indian Audit and Account Service. He served as the Accountant General of Kerala from 1991 to 95 and took voluntary retirement from the post of Joint Secretary to the Government of India in the Department of Personnel and Training. He, through his actions, have proved us the impact of truth and its role in establishing much needed propriety, objectivity, and transparency. The Pension Adalat, Operation Profound, were some of his greatest achievements in providing better service to the common man. When the office faced an issue of staff shortage, his timely intervention to bring in staff from other departments in different states through unilateral transfer was an administrative excellence. His much needed intervention are still remembered with much gratitude. It's my privilege to give the stage to Sri James K. Joseph sir. Thank you, sir.
Respected Sri T.K. Nair, former advisor to Dr. Manmohan Singh and a former boss of James K. Joseph in KSIDC. Professor M.A. Uman, Srimati Sudharmani, Dr. Biju Jacob, Dr. Fabi Varghese, Srimati Anim Cherian, senior bureaucrats, eminent journalists, distinguished members of the Institute of Public Auditors of India, Sri P.K. Lalu, and friends. I am not leading the seminar. I intended only to give an introductory address, but Dr. Biju Jacob tells me to lead the seminar. I don't think I'm competent to lead it because I don't have practical experience, because I'm out of touch. So I'll speak a few words of introduction and leave it to the experts. Introduction is only this thing. We are of late observing different days as something special. We are dedicating days to somebody or something. For example, 16th November was a fast food day. And today is the buttons day. Like that it goes on. But for us, my button doesn't reach here. So today, but for us it is very important, Audit Diwas. Because we are celebrating it as the Audit Diwas because the first CAG of India took charge on 16th of November 1860. Probably he was an ICS officer. Anyway, it is an occasion to reflect on the contributions of the CAG to good governance in this country. I'm happy that at least last year we started this thing when the first audit was held last year, celebrated last year. Our Prime Minister unveiled the statue of Sardar Patel in the office of the CAG. And he spoke high of the CAG's contribution to the growth of the economy. He said, the word he used was this thing, I remember that. He said, CAG, by way of his reports, adds value. It does value addition to governance, to decision making in this country. This year, it was again held, second Audit Diwas. I think you went for that. The Vice President spoke. Again, I listened to him, and he was speaking again high of the audit officers in this country. He was speaking extremely high of the professionalism of Indian auditors in the Indian Auditor and Accounts Department, and I really felt proud of being part of this department in general, and also in particular. I feel proud of having been in the office of the AG Kerala. I consider I was here, I was assistant, I started my career as assistant accountant general here. My first AG was Sri Konnakal Paul Joseph, KP Joseph. I was also AG here from 91 to 95. Actually, it has been a good training ground for me. I got trained by all of you. You're all so good, so brilliant, that reminds me when Arvind Kumar Avasthi, he was a principal accountant general here, he was going to the golf club in the evening to play golf, and in the morning to the tennis club to play tennis. I told him, Arvind, your job is audit. You are playing most of the time, you are not doing any audit. James, what is the need for auditing here? Because these people are so brilliant, and I do not want to spoil their work by interfering with them. That's what he said. And he brought out a number of good reports. That was Arvind Kumar Avasthi. So I am very proud of all of you. I am very happy. I feel very homely in your company. And I would like to come more often to AG Kerala, AG's office also, but then no, there are so many fronts, even today. So I don't know, I won't be able to talk to everybody. That is the only reason why I am not coming. So that is that. Anyway, I spoke about the Prime Minister, Vice President, so many people, and the Vice President also said that globally, also the Indian CAG is held in high esteem. He himself said he felt proud of the fact that the Indian CAG, the Indian professionals, professionals are held in high esteem globally as auditors, because we are doing the audit of UN, etc. So that is there. Yesterday, I listened to the leader of the opposition. He was talking here on Audit Diwas, and there was live streaming. I saw him speaking, and he said a very important point. He said, speaking about politicians, political leaders, legislators, he said, when we look at complex issues, we look at the legislative intent of the intent behind the legislations made by the Constituent Assembly, Parliament, and so on. And he added that none less than Ambedkar held the CAG of India as the most important officer under the Constitution. So he also added, we the people make the Constitution. The people of India consider the CAG, he interprets like that, consider the CAG as the most important officer under the Constitution. So here is a paradox. On the one hand, the intent behind the constitutional makers, the legislative intent behind what Dr. Ambedkar said was that CAG is the most important officer. But here in Kerala, I am sad to say that he has been considered as the least important officer. This really makes me sad. I have to say this thing. As the least important officer, and to my mind, the audit observation, it was actually a personal observation of the then CAG, Maharshi himself, that there was a violation of Article 293(1) of the Constitution in the off-budget borrowing masala bond, via masala bond for KIFBI. So the CAG's observation, that's a factual thing. There is a violation. There cannot be any argument about that. Only for that reason, CAG has been condemned. The audit report has been rejected. I don't know. I feel really sad about it. I cannot think, how the CAG will continue to do his work here. The most important report has been rejected. And also because CAG Comptroller, COMP, P is there for exchequer control. But then there is no exchequer control. But this is also very important. Debt management. Debt management is a very important thing. At least there he can contribute, he is contributing. Fiscal consolidation. Through this article is there for to ensure fiscal accountability, fiscal responsibility, all this. And when he says, CAG says there is no fiscal responsibility, no fiscal accountability, that report is rejected. Well, I don't know what to do. I think CAG should not leave it like that. There's no point in conducting audit Diwas like this. CAG should take it up seriously. That is one point I have to make. because the very recent editor of CAG has been questioned, has come under question. On this audit Diwas, we must reflect on this issue most importantly, this issue. That's my point. I will wind up by quoting from Era Sheshayan, one of the most eminent parliamentarians India has seen. He was a PSC chairman also. He said, it may take centuries to regain freedom, but it is easier to squander away the democratic values in no time. Let this generation be not blamed for losing the precious gift that is the CAG. CAG is a precious gift, according to Ida Sheshe, given to us by the freedom fighters and the defenders of democracy. I wanted to wind up with this thing, but then Dr. Biju Jacob has told me to lead the seminar. I will only say, I will give only, I will only give an appetizer to Dr. Phoebe Varghese. Dr. Phoebe Varghese is a Pied Piper in public sector management, and also his PhD is on public sector management. So I need not tell him how to start and how to proceed, and I did not tell Dr. Biju Jacob how to do it. I think Biju has better leadership qualities, technical leadership qualities at least in this, and he can lead the seminar. But one appetizer only for you, that is again quoting the CAG. In the latest finance accounts of 2020-21, the CAG in his certificate, as a prelude to his certificate, he has mentioned like this: during 2021, the state government has released grants and loans of rupees 2,688.77 crores to 37 public sector undertakings, which didn't finalize their accounts for periods ranging from 1 to 11 years. I am therefore unable to discharge my responsibility with regard to certification of these companies under CAG's DPC Act 1971 and Companies Act 2013. Well, this is the appetizer. I know this is a measure of the lack of accountability in the public sector management in Kerala. So with this appetizer, I think you can. Dr. Phoebe, you can proceed. Yeah? Eh? And I'm speaking about the audit. Of course, I would like to eagerly listen to Dr. Ummen, because in one of our, Shanmugam was there many years ago. Professor Ummen came for our function, IPA function. I still remember your speech also. I got that photo also with me. I'm happy, sir, you have come here. Yeah, thank you. Welcome. Your speech is coming. She will introduce. Naomi will introduce. No need for introduction.
കോപ്പ് മെമ്പറും മലപ്പുറം മണ്ഡലത്തിൽ നിന്ന് കേരള നിയമസഭയിലെത്തിയ ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട MLA ഉബൈദുള്ള സർ നമുക്കൊപ്പം എത്തിച്ചേർന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹത്തെ ഹർഷാദരവോടെ സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. Thank you, sir. Now we are moving on to the presentation of the topic. The first presentation will be by Professor M.A. Umman, sir, an academic, prolific writer and development economist. He wrote several books and published many articles on issues such as democracy, development, decentralization and economy of Kerala and India. He worked as the economic advisor to the Botswana government, chairperson of the Committee on Decentralization and Development of Kerala, also the chairman of the 4th State Finance Commission of Kerala. He became well known in the academic community for his comprehensive writing on key issues such as democracy, development and decentralization. He wrote more than 30 books in Malayalam and English and has a rich collection of more than 400 papers which collectively form a comprehensive economic history of Kerala's last 7 decades. His extensive writing on the role of land reform in Kerala, enhancing the capacity of the people of Kerala and removing the barriers to it, brought appreciation from different parts. His 2008 study on the role of Kudumbashri in uplifting the social status of women in Kerala is one of its kind. It's my honor and privilege to invite Shri M.A. Umman sir for the topic presentation. Please, sir.
Esteemed Sri Ayyappan Nair, my distinguished friends, സത്യം പറഞ്ഞാൽ എല്ലാവരും പറയുന്നത് കേട്ടപ്പോൾ എനിക്കിതേക്കുറിച്ച് വിവരമുണ്ടെന്നുള്ള ഒരു ധാരണ ഇവിടെ പരത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അത് അത്ര ശരിയല്ല. കാരണം ഞാൻ ശ്രീമാൻ വർഗീസിനെ പോലെയോ PhD എടുത്തിട്ടുള്ള ആളാണ് ഈ വിഷയത്തിൽ. ഞാനത് പഠിക്കുന്ന കേരളത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് അതിൻ്റെ വിവിധ മേഖലകൾ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിലും ഞാൻ പഠിക്കാത്ത ഒരു മേഖലയാണ്. എങ്കിലും ഞാൻ അതുകൊണ്ട് ചിലതൊക്കെ കുറിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. 2020-21 കണക്കുകളാണ് ഞാൻ ആധികാരികമായി ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത്. കാരണം ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ ഓരോ ശ്രീമാൻ ജേക്കബ്, ഡോക്ടർ ജേക്കബ് ഉൾപ്പെടെയുള്ളവർ പറഞ്ഞ കണക്കുകളെക്കുറിച്ച് വ്യത്യസ്തമായിരിക്കും ചിലപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ കണക്കിൻ്റെ അടിസ്ഥാനം 2020-21 അതൊരു കോവിഡ് കാലമാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് അതിന് മുൻപിലുള്ള 1-2 വർഷവും കൂടി ഞാൻ കണക്കിലെടുക്കും. വേഗം എൻ്റെ വിഷയം എന്നോട് പറയാൻ ഡോക്ടർ ജേക്കബ്, മറ്റ് എന്നെ വിളിക്കാൻ വന്ന പ്രമുഖരും ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ട വിഷയം പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ എൻ്റർപ്രൈസസ് ആൻഡ് കേരള ഇക്കോണമി. ഞാൻ അക്കാര്യം മാത്രമേ പറയുന്നുള്ളൂ. ഒരു കാര്യം ശ്രീമാൻ ജെയിംസ് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ വന്നു, കൺട്രോളർ ആൻഡ് ഓഡിറ്റർ ജനറൽ ആരും ഗവനിക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് സത്യമാണ്. പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ പഴയ സുഹൃത്ത് വിനോദ് റായ് കൺട്രോളർ ആയിരുന്നപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചു. നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം. അതിൽ കൂടുതൽ ഞാനൊന്നും പറയുന്നു. ഇനി ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ വിഷയത്തിലേക്ക് കടക്കാം. എന്ത് ചോദ്യം വേണേലും ചോദിക്കാം, മറുപടി പറയുമെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കണ്ട. ഇത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് I am invited at rather surprise notice to talk on a topic which is an enigma to policy administrators and certainly a continuing problem to the economy of the state. For the larger public who want dedicated power supply, comfortable mobility, and uninterrupted provisioning of drinking water, the public utilities of Kerala provide a desirable need that calls for significant reforms. Besides the three public utilities, KSEB, KSRTC, and KWA, Kerala Water Authority, there are 150 public sector enterprises in 2021 whose production range from liquor to cashew to tourism. That the total PSEs of central government is only 366 shows that this small state of Kerala has a sizable number to manage. Kerala has probably the largest number of PSEs among the Indian states. Out of the 153 PSEs, 31 are either transferred, closed, or remain inactive. The effective number is only 115, with an increase of 10 compared to the previous year, even though the state was in the debilitating grip of COVID-19 during 2021. The total employment also grew during the period from 1.29 lakhs to 1.33 lakh. Apparently, an unusual phenomenon in a health crisis context. In 2015, exactly 6 years ago, the total employment reported was 1.3 lakhs for 96 PSEs. In this brief talk, I raise three issues. One, what contributions do these enterprises make to the Kerala economy? That is my topic. Number two, are they performing well and moving on a sustainable trajectory? And three, indicate the broad contours for some reform. Let me make it abundantly clear, which I also said already, that my observations are impressionistic and anecdotal. Reliable database is not only the handmaid of good policy making, but is also a powerful tool for prudent public scrutiny. On this score, PSEs have been a big failure because in 2000, I say this because I think it is James who said that 11 years lag or something like that. The latest year for which data are available, only 19 PSEs were up to date in furnishing audited account. The arrear lag ranges from 1 to 6 years, not 11. Maybe 11 years is correct. You are right. In my comments regarding the contribution to Kerala economy, I do not entirely rely on 2021, but previous year also. For this short analysis, I use the conventional parameters, notably turnover, financial investment, net worth, employment, profitability, contribution to state exchequer, etc. Before I venture into the specifics, we may note that the manufacturing base of Kerala is relatively weak at around 11% of the gross value added, and the contribution of public utilities form only 1.3% of value added, and the entire PSC is probably around 2% or little more. In 2021, the turnover of all the working PSCs adds to rupees 34,365 crore, which works out to 4.3% of the GSDP. This is rupees 2,119 crore lower than the previous year, and certainly is a huge fall, even though it was a pandemic year, because the employment increased from 1.2 lakh to 1.33 lakh, along with a substantive increase investment by rupees 4,535 crore to make a grand total of 67,619 crore and not 20,000. I repeat, rupees, one esteemed member of legislature, I believe, is here. He should know that the grand total is 67,619 crore. This is financial investment. More instructively, it is important to note that the average investment per employee increased from rupees 48.84 lakh during 2019-20 to 50.7 lakh in the pandemic year. But the average profitability per employee was a negative sum, or loss of rupees 76,000, which increased to a fabulous sum of rupees 4.54 lakh per employee, an increase of 6 times in a year. That the loss per employee in 2015-16 was rupees 1.04 lakh, and continuing that demonstrate a worrisome trend. Worrisome for whom, I don't know. A growing negative return on investment is a sure road to disaster. This can be sustained only at the expense of the taxpayers' money. The return on investment in 2021 was a negative minus 15.8% per annum. That in the year the government gave grants and subsidies to the order of rupees 4,697 crore by the state government and rupees 1,655 by the government of India cannot be forgotten. This help is a quantum jump of 471% for government of Kerala, from government of Kerala, and 156% from the central government. There was also a 234% increase in the budgetary support from the government of Kerala to the tune of rupees 7,066 crore, mind you, compared to the previous year. Indeed, this huge leverage was to succor the enterprises to stay alive. This is surely an imprudent utilization of taxpayers' money while fully recognizing the pandemic crisis also. The ongoing net worth erosion of PSEs is very disturbing. Net worth means asset managed liabilities, paid up capital all reserves, write back of depreciation minus accumulated losses and deferred expenditure. It was a negative sum of rupees 5,696 crore 2 years ago. This more than doubled to rupees 11,630 crore in 2021. These numbers are net for all the PSEs. But if you take KSEB, KSRTC and KWA alone, net worth loss adds to 18,611 crore. Besides the Public Utilities, Cashew Development Corporation is a big loss maker. The net worth of corporations like the Tourism Development Corporation is fully negative. These stories of negation are depressing news. Let me now turn to a positive aspect. Although not financially robust, the PSEs contribute significantly to the state government's exchequer. In 2021, they have contributed 13,328 crore by way of taxes and duties. This works out to 28% of the own tax revenue of the state, as against 26% the previous year. That the state government's own tax revenue rests on this economically unviable source of PSEs. All the story I have narrated. For more than a quarter of own source revenue, quarter means at least 25% of the own tax revenue for the last several years are contributed by these PSEs. But these are money given to them also. So that shows the weakness of the tax mobilization of effort of the state. Now, some hypothesis and working towards reform. It's only fit and proper that I make a few general observations on the theme. I have no hesitation in saying that the foundational principle, I want all of you to listen to this. I have no hesitation in saying that the foundational principle that public money should be spent with wisdom, faithfulness, and efficiency. This is the old CAG's verdict, has been observed in its breach by the public sector enterprises of Kerala. There is no clear linkage between the massive financial and physical investment made and the actual performance on the ground. That 31 government departments largely administered these enterprises and their management has not been left to the professional experts on a systematic basis tells in unmistakable terms that the efficiency criterion is given a go by. This is a sure recipe that weakens all the channels of proper accountability. Performance accountability of the top managerial class and outcome budgeting are virtually ruled out in the present scheme of things. This is my assertion. If I am wrong, please correct me. Although the contemporary apostles, Mr. Ayappan Nair made an oblique reference to that. Although the contemporary apostles of market-mediated development may not necessarily agree, it is a fact of Indian history that India's PSEs once controlled the commanding heights of the Indian economy and built it on strong foundation, and even the military strength is partly due to that today. You do well to recollect the classification of the PSCs into the Maharatna, Navaratna and Mini Ratna on the basis of profitability and productivity even during the post-reform era. That such classification is impossible in Kerala tells the poor performance story that I have outlined. Even so, some loud thinking for reform is not wide of the mark. I have already noted that need to outcome budgeting and performance evaluation. Although Kerala has a large number of PSCs, there is heavy concentration. Whatever be the parameters one may use to scale the magnitude. So concentrate on that. Nearly 80 units have a turnover below rupees 80 crore. KSEB alone account for a turnover of 42%. Kerala State Civil Supplies Corporation, Kerala State Financial Enterprises and Beverages Corporation along with KSEB account for 73% of the total turnover. While power supply and provisioning of essential commodities have important social objectives to perform, the production and sale of liquor and chitties are not the priority area of any good state. It is a matter for consideration whether the government should step into areas that do not promote common good, spread effects, backward and forward linkages, and so on. Kerala people have an unusual preference for public sector jobs, Sarkar Joli. The Sarkar service being the single largest provider with PSCs closely following. KSEB, KSRTC, KWA, the three account for 52% of employment. The third largest employer is the Cashew Development Corporation. We know that once upon a time, cashew nut processing was a leading private sector enterprise. Tangal Gunj Musaliar's nuts were famous in California. Those who have gone to America those times know that. The third largest, I said that. Today, in regard to the negative net worth, next to KSRT and KSEB comes the Cashew Development Corporation, followed by the Civil Supplies Corporation. These four enterprises account for rupees 26,420 crore of net worth loss and occupy the top position. Not only that, instructively, these four enterprises make total cash loss of rupees 2,813 crore. They alone. Can any private entrepreneur, surely not even Elon Musk, would venture to bear such cash loss, which add up to nearly 5,237 crore for all the loss-making units. The cash loss was 2.5 times bigger than that of the previous year. We may end this negative narrative with a brief look at the return on investment. Kerala has invested rupees, I repeated already this, 67,619 crore in 2021. 10% increase compared to last year. Investment is around 8.5% of the GSDP of the state. But the total return on investment is a negative 15.8% per annum. The largest share of negative return is accounted by the KSRTC and the Beverages Corporation. Beverages Corporation may pick up this year. For the three public utilities alone, the loss is over the order of 1.67 lakh per employee in sum. let me conclude. We can firmly conclude that public money has not been spent with wisdom, faithfulness and efficiency as far as the management of the PSEs go. A state has the obligation to provide dedicated power supply, drinking water and several such public needs. Provision of efficient road, infrastructure and transport system is also important. Similarly, there is a need to provide essential commodities at affordable prices in a democracy. I need not remind this audience that Kerala has a unique distinction in providing essential commodities at fair prices for several years now. While these public provisioning is a social rationale, they have no economic rationale either. They are poorly managed and calls for significant reforms. In taking good, bad and indifferent entities on your shoulders, one cannot say that it has served the common good admirably well. It is high time that the state realizes that Reserve Bank of India has marked Kerala as one of the most fiscally vulnerable states among the 5. The state has to realize that PSEs add significantly to its fiscal pathology. Unless this is done, it is difficult to initiate reforms. You can take the horse to the water, but however much you try, you cannot make it drink. Thank you.
Now we are moving on to the question answer session for women, sir. If anybody have any queries or questions, you can kindly raise your hand. The mic will be given to you.
See, I have no questions to my beloved professor, but I will begin from where he stopped about public sector in India in general and Kerala in particular. What is the state of the public sector in the whole of India, in the central sector? We are discussing management of public sector, how this public sector can be managed better. When we are discussing this, what is the story in the central story about the central public sector? There is a sellout that is going on. Under the former dispensation, of which our chief guest was also a part, they were very hesitantly selling shares of public sector. But in the present dispensation, they are selling out the whole unit. Air India has been sold out. There is a proposal to sell out railways. There is a proposal to sell out national highways. And what is the role and stake of the Comptroller and Auditor General in this selling spree? That is my question. CAG's audit is supposed to upgrade governance. That is a phrase coined by the former CAG, Sri Vinod Roy. Upgradation of governance is the major objective of audit. According to me, the audit reports of the CAG, state and central, are very valuable tools for managing public sector. But how the legislature, how the executive receive these reports. The sole MLA is not here. You know what happened to the palm oil report? It was a sensational report. It was a spicy report. How the Public Undertakings Committee disposed it off in the first instance? They said, the chairman of the then Undertakings Committee made a remark. In future, corporations like civil supplies corporations should be more careful in transacting such business. There ended the matter. Then how it happened to be reopened? A government change was there. The next government, the next PUC took it up, and a new case was framed, and that's how it went on. And for finalizing that report, the amount of torture, the amount of attack faced by Sri James K. Joseph, during whose tenure that report was finalized, everybody knows. Similarly, the common thing we notice, CAG, some people has a fascination for CAG when he writes report against the ruling party. When you are in the opposition, CAG is a very good man, because very nice fellow, because he writes nothing against them. He writes many things against the ruling government. After the days of Nehru, after the days of Pranab Kumar Mukherjee, there is nobody, nobody to support. Even our former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, in the context of the 2G report, he was issuing a whip to the members of the Public Accounts Committee. You should oppose it. That was a whip. If Nehru was there, he would have chastised him like anything. That is my contention. So what I am driving to bring home is the Article 148, 149, 50, 51 in the Constitution gives mandate, constitutional mandate to the CAG. Our Constitution was amended 104 times after 1950. But it was amended only once in the context of CAG. That was the 42nd Amendment. Even that amendment was to curtail, to cut, to chop the wings of the CAG with reference to accounts. Am I right? Am I right? Article 150. 150 was amended. The books of accounts shall be the prerogative of the CAG. It was the earlier position. After the 42nd Amendment, that prerogative went to the President of India. Of course, there was not much significance about it. My grievance is legislative support for the CAG is lacking. When this selling out of this public sector is going on, CAG should have a say in this process. Profit-making public sector undertakings should never be sold. Loss-making, of course, you can think about it. Loss-making, you can think about it. But profit-making concerns, like Professor Uman sir was emphasizing the role of public sector. Are we proceeding to a situation where we are not to have any public sector in future? Ordnance factories are being privatized. ISRO is going to be privatized. What is there to be privatized? It is of course, it is a policy shift and a policy change. And I am afraid where we will be landing because of this policy shift. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to express some of my observations as a member of the Institute of Public Auditors of India under the stewardship of James K. Joseph, sir. Thank you.
Shri Devendra Kumar Dhodawat, IAS officer and Principal Secretary to the Governor of Kerala, has joined us today. I extend my warm welcome to you, sir. Shri Isakuti, sir, former Deputy Accountant General and member of IPAI, has also joined us today. I heartily welcome, sir, on behalf of the office.
ഇത് ചോദ്യമായിരിക്കണം. മലയാളത്തിലാവാം. ഇതെന്നെ നിരാശപ്പെടുത്തുന്നതാണ്. പിന്നെ ഇത് വെച്ച് ചോദിക്കും.
Professor Men, made such a wonderful analysis of the state of affairs as reflected in the last balance sheet of the public sector undertakings. As usual, he has done a profound job of doing that. I agree with his observations. I have only 2 points to make. These are not questions, but I think these are extremely relevant according to my understanding of what is going on in the public sector in Kerala. You very rightly pointed out about the Kerala State Electricity Board, the Kerala State Road Transport Corporation, and the Kerala Water Authority. I will not put the Cashew Corporation in the same category. But sir, take into account the functioning of these. As a man who reads the newspapers, I do not examine the balance sheets or anything of the kind, but I read the newspapers. There is no lack of understanding on the part of the KSEB management that their fare structure is unviable. We all accept that, but what do we do about it? We cannot do anything about it, because that is the commitment of the government of Kerala, which means, in a democracy like ours, where governments keep changing and the people are sovereign under the constitution, it is the people's welfare as the people who are in a position of decision making at a given time understand. You see, the understanding of government A, what is good for the people, may be different from the understanding of government B. You see, we talked about privatization in the government of India. Same thing. There was a time when it was understood that the commanding heights of the economy should be in the hands of the government through this institutional mechanism. In many ways, forgive me sir for saying this, it is the departmental functions of government which are now being performed by the public sector. And simultaneously, you have the department also. The reasons are many. I have been a part of this process for donkey's years. I won't go into that. But the fact of the matter is that these public utilities, the water authority, the transport corporation, and the KCB, you see, whatever may be the magic of a management expert or experts, we will not be able to change unless the fare structure is modified and the people, you and I and all of us, are prepared to pay more for it than what we are paying today. So that is the crux of the issue as far as this is concerned. But about Cashew also, although it is not an essential service to be provided to the people, there is a context. That's why I was emphasizing that when you look at the performance of a corporation, look at the objectives for which it was set up. What is the objective for which the cashew corporation is set up? I don't think it is for making profit. There was a time, there still is the time, when people who are engaged as employees in the cashew industry, they did not have enough of raw material in the state, so it has got to be procured from outside. And basically it is to provide employment to these people. Many of the public sector undertakings can be justified only on that. And to use a generic term, the social objectives of government. So the companies reflect, government companies, basically the social and economic objective also, you put it together. That's it. But that is the philosophy of government so far. But it is changing. It is changing, and the change is also not in the vacuum. See, India did not start functioning from 2014 or 13 or 12. It has been a long history. And what is happening today, it has got to be seen with reference to the past, how they have come about, how the very concept of public sector emerged and how they were sought to be strengthened in a given context. Today that context is not there, it is different. Today, harnessing a few thousand crores is easy for an Ambani or for an Adani or for a Tata group. But in 1947 or 50 or 60, it was not the case. So at that point of time, it was relevant. Today, it may not be. And therefore, it is an evolving process. We cannot say that was good or this was good. So I am just mentioning to you, Professor, that when we look at the balance sheets and when we make this kind of comparisons, which are absolutely necessary, but side by side, I think we should be looking at the extent to which the socio-economic objectives of an institution has been achieved. Their management efficiency is extremely important. And there again, there is a role of the government. You see, if management executives, chief executive of a corporation, if he's changed every other year, what kind of a performance can you expect from him? If some of these institutions of ours, they are performing better, to my mind, one of the most important reasons is the continuity. You see, a managing director who is conceiving an idea, who is evolving that, who is implementing that, he has a stake in this, but not when a man, is shifted every other month. And somebody who thinks of a plan, somebody else, takes it to a level of execution. He may not even be interested in this. So these are complexities about which we have to be careful about. At the same time, I agree with what he has said in terms of the financial analysis. I think no financial analysis will justify the existence of many of them. But at the same time, I hasten to add that there may be corporations which have no relevance at all. But it's correct. I am not evading that. Professor, in a democracy, if today's government of Kerala or government of India decides that this corporation is necessary, it passes a legislation. And that legislation is binding on you and I and everybody. So in a democracy, it is the will of the people as expressed from time to time through these elected bodies that matters. If a legislature of Kerala rejects or does not approve the CAG report, there is nothing that we can do about it. You go to the Supreme Court saying that it is against this provision. No, the court cannot intervene because it is the democratic nature of our constitution. So if the government of India rejects or does not do anything on a CAG report, you cannot do anything against that government unless that government is voted out, either in the parliament or in the next election. Same is here. I'm sorry, that is the constitution under which we live. So my point is that we the people, who constitute and who are sovereign, ultimately, we are partially responsible for all that happens. So we have to take our responsibility. That's all. Thank you.
എനിക്ക് എൻ്റെ ബഹുമാന്യ സുഹൃത്ത് പറഞ്ഞതിനോട് ഞാൻ യോജിക്കുന്നതിനൊപ്പം തന്നെ ജനാധിപത്യത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യം, ജനാധിപത്യത്തിൻ്റെ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഏതിനും അതിൻ്റേതായ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. ക്വാളിറ്റി ഓഫ് സ്പെൻഡിങ്, ക്വാളിറ്റി ഓഫ് ജനാധിപത്യം. ജനാധിപത്യത്തിൻ്റെ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഡിപ്പെൻസ് ഓൺ ദി quality of citizenship. The quality of citizenship can be educated only by public scrutiny and widening the sphere of public thinking. Public thinking today should not be reductionistic. Public social objectives. What is the social objective of chitti being taken by the government and running and it into a profit? It is a profit. ലാഭം ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടി ചിട്ടി തുടങ്ങാം, മദ്യവിൽപ്പന തുടങ്ങാം, മദ്യം തുടങ്ങാം. ഇപ്പം ഏതാണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ പ്രയോറിറ്റി എന്നുള്ളത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ഡിസൈഡ് ചെയ്യുമെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾ കാണിക്കുന്ന ഒരുത്തരും ധൈര്യപ്പെട്ട് പറയാത്ത പല കാര്യങ്ങളും ഇന്ന് കേരളത്തിലുണ്ട്. ചങ്കൂറ്റത്തോട് പറയാനോ എഴുതാനോ വളരെ പേർ മടിയാണ്. ഞാനിത് അറിഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് പല കാര്യങ്ങളും വിട്ടാണ് സംസാരിച്ചത്. പൊളിറ്റിക്സ് എന്നുള്ള വാക്ക് പോലും ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ഇതിനകത്ത് പരാമർശിച്ചില്ല, അറിഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടാണ്. പക്ഷേ സോഷ്യൽ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സിൻ്റെ പേരിൽ പണം ധൂർത്തടിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. ഓരോ പൈസയ്ക്കും പണത്തിനും വിലയുണ്ട്. അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ്ലി എത്ര കടമെടുത്താലും ആ കടം തിരിച്ചടയ്ക്കുന്ന എഴുതിത്തള്ളിയാലും ബർഡൻ ടാക്സ് പേയറുടെ ചുമലിലാണ്. ആ ടാക്സ് പേയർ അക്കൗണ്ടബിൾ ആക്കാൻ തക്കവണ്ണം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്നും ലോസ് മേക്കിംഗ് എൻ്റർപ്രൈസസിനെ തോളിലേറ്റിക്കൊണ്ട് പോവുകയും അതേസമയം നല്ല റോഡുകൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പണിപ്പെടുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ മുൻഗണനാ ക്രമം എന്താ? വാട്ട് ആർ യുവർ പ്രയോറിറ്റീസ്? വെയർ ഈസ് ദ പബ്ലിക് തിങ്കിങ് ഓഫ് കേരള? ഇതേക്കുറിച്ച് കൂടുതൽ ഒരു വലിയ ഡിബേറ്റിന് ഞാൻ തയ്യാറായി ഇരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഈ പ്രായമല്ലാണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ കൂടുതലോട്ട് ഇതിലോട്ട് അറിഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് പിൻവലിഞ്ഞ് നിന്നുകൊണ്ടാണ്. കാരണം ഇതൊരു ഓഡിറ്റ് പ്രൊഫഷണൽ ബോഡിയാണ്. പ്രൊഫഷണൽ ഡിബേറ്റിനാണ് ഞാൻ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. പ്രൊഫഷണലായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ഫാക്ട്സും ഫിഗേഴ്സും ലോജിക്കും വെച്ചുകൊണ്ട് മാത്രം സംസാരിക്കണം. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ ഒരു ലിമിറ്റ് വെച്ച് സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇന്ന് ഒരുപാട് കൊള്ളരുതായ്മകളെ വിളിച്ചു പോകേണ്ട സമയം കഴിഞ്ഞിരിക്കുകയാണ്.
നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത സ്പീക്കർ ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് സമയമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ because Dr. Febby's research is on public sector issues, so I think we can hear some useful things from him.
We are moving on to the next presentation. Dr. Feby Varghese. He has doctorate in management studies on management of public sector undertakings, first rank in postgraduate in engineering, MBA in business administration, LLB. He has also completed the executive development program on corporate governance from IIM. He worked as a managing director of KMML and KSIC. He also worked as a financial analyst in the United Nations and as director of COA Board of India. KMML, the largest PSU which was on the verge of layoff, was turned around by him. KSIE and KRFD registered record turnover during his tenure. He is presently the CEO and Managing Director of Kerala State Nirmidi Kendra. They achieved record profit and all the 14 regional centers of Nirmidi Kendra registered profit for the first time in 2021 during his tenure. He has been recognized with the Management Excellence Award for his contributions. He's an inventor of patented product and has published 25 papers, including 16 international papers, and authored 2 books on management. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Febi Verghese sir for presenting the topic. Thank you, sir.
Chief guest of the day, Sri T.K. Nair sir, Principal Accountant General Dr. Biju Jacob, Sri James K. Joseph, former Accountant General, Professor M.A. Uman sir, Srimati G. Sudharmani, Srimati Anim Cherian, Sri P.K. Lalu, distinguished dignitaries and friends. I'm extremely happy to be a part of your Audit Diwas celebrations, and at the outset, I extend my gratitude to the organizers, particularly to the Principal Accountant General Dr. Biju Jacob and former Accountant General Sri James Joseph for inviting me to address this esteemed gathering on public sector management. Professor Uman sir has already touched upon the economic aspects of public sector, so I'll be focusing more on the management aspects of public sector. Figures may also differ a little bit because I am quoting from the latest reports. Public sector enterprises, as you all know, have played a significant role in the economic and social development of our country since independence. Public sector undertakings are established with the primary objectives of balanced regional development, balanced concentration of wealth and economic power, and employment generation. In pursuit of these objectives, massive investment has been made over the past decades to build a strong public sector in India. Besides acting as a wheel of economic development, public enterprises are entrusted with the task of contributing to ensure social justice, poverty eradication, and accelerating the growth of agriculture and industry. Therefore, it is rightly said that public enterprises without a plan can achieve something, but a plan without public sector is likely to remain on paper. It is well known that Kerala has made spectacular achievements in land reforms, education, and health over the last years after the formation of our state. With respect to economic growth, Kerala has surged ahead among Indian states by the early 2000s. Given such a context, it is indeed a paradox that Kerala's industrial sector is relatively backward. Manufacturing sector contributes only 7.5% of Kerala's GDP, which is 15.8% at the national level. The poor performance of the public sector enterprises in Kerala has been a great concern to the society in general and for planners and policymakers in particular. The performance of public sector enterprises reveals a wide gap between their objectives and achievements. The economic growth of Kerala, consequent to COVID-19 and containment measures, went into negative territory, as in many parts of the country and the world. State Planning Board reported that the growth in gross value added dipped to a low of minus 8.16% in 2021, as against 2.19% growth in 1920. The decline in state GDP growth was even further with a dip of minus 9.2% against a corresponding growth of 2.2% in the previous year. The aim of industrial and economic development cannot be achieved by merely having an ideological bias. It has to be supplemented with a concrete and positive performance. Unfortunately, most of our public sector undertakings have failed in developing positive image in terms of financial performance and social inclusion. Some of them have even turned sick. The sick firms are either closed down or rehabilitated. It's a matter of major concern that many PSUs have been restructured or revamped, pumping in large sums of public money. Such rehabilitations have often been made on non-economic grounds, on social or political compulsions. As per the CAG report, there are at present 122 PSUs in Kerala engaged in diverse areas, mainly chemicals, engineering, infrastructure, and agriculture, out of which 107 are currently functional and 15 are non-functional. State public enterprises together provide employment to about 1.5 lakh people in different categories directly and about 5 lakh people indirectly. The net turnover achieved by the state enterprises for the year 2021 is 34,365 crores. 63 enterprises have incurred losses, and the net profitability of PSUs may be at a loss of 6,055 crores in 2021, as against a net loss of 1,738 crores in 1920. Alarming. The increased dependency on budgetary support, even for continuing with the regular operations of PSU, is a matter of major concern. While on this, it is pertinent to note that 41 public sector enterprises operating under the Industries Department, under the leadership of the minister, have recorded a turnover of 3,884 crores for financial year 21-22, which is 17% more compared to previous year. The total operating profit of the companies under the department was 384 crores, which is 245% more than compared to the previous year. And 5 companies have all-time records and turnover and profit. KMML, which is at the forefront, registered a turnover of 1,058 crores and profit of 332 crores. But the fact is that the overall performance of PSU in Kerala is far from satisfactory. Well, one may take the defense of the outbreak of COVID-19, which has adversely reflected on the overall performance of PSUs. No doubt, the impact of pandemic was definitely severe. I do agree that disruption in supply chain, closure of markets, and loss of working days affected the production and sale of most of the PSUs. But when you critically analyze the reasons for the poor performance of our PSUs, we may come across many other glaring issues, and the real challenge is how to timely resolve these issues. Working capital shortage is a major financial issue. Several state PSUs suffer from shortage of working capital. I know that there have been instances in which shortage of working capital has even resulted in stoppage of work in PSUs. Project financing, economic of scales, higher labor costs, etc. are some other financial related issues. Lack of synergy is another major issue. It is important that PSUs build synergies with each other, and these firms should find ways in which they can make use of each other's products. For instance, KSCB should try to procure transformers from KEL and TEL and cables produced by Traco Cables. The government should try to procure more medicines produced by KSDP for distribution through the public health system. KMML and TTPL produce titanium dioxide, and these firms should try to achieve greater integration between each other's activities. This can be done by achieving a team of employees, professionals. Those can be migrated between these organizations. So government should consider creation of a body of professional managers to this to happen. All options for building forward and backward linkages may be explored. Lack of autonomy, my predecessor has already mentioned. PSC should be given greater autonomy in decision making, especially on issues involving production, purchase, marketing, and technology. Professional board. Board of directors should be constituted with professionals experienced in the operations of these units, and there can be functional directors at the operation level. And managing directors, as rightly said, should have a fixed term of at least 5 years for ensuring continuity and accountability. Board level meetings or monitoring has been done for state PSUs coming under Industries Department, but no regular or effective monitoring systems for the rest of the state PSU is seen. Diversification is another issue. A long-term revival of manufacturing PSUs in Kerala will require many of these units to rethink their product lines and technology. Some are still using obsolete technology. But with biotechnology and biochemical engineering, it is possible to create high value added products from Kerala's agriculture and natural resources. Another issue which you may also agree is delay in audit. It's a vexing issue. It may be noted that only 19 PSUs are up to date in audit of accounts, and 97 enterprises have arrears ranging from 1 to 6 years. You professional auditors will agree with me that up-to-date audit of account is essential for monitoring the performance of any organization. If you want to monitor something, you need to quantify. If you want to quantify something, you need to measure it. So if you cannot measure, you cannot quantify. If you cannot quantify, you cannot monitor. So the timely audit of accounts is very, very essential to measure, quantify, and monitor the performance of PSUs. In this regard, I would say that the CAG, the watchdog of public money, is doing a great job. The unbiased and objective assessments of CAG help public enterprises achieve accountability and integrity and instill confidence among the citizens and the stakeholders. I am glad that Government of Kerala is now taking initiatives to strengthen the public sector, run them professionally, and help them earn profits. Of late, professional managers are being appointed to oversee the operations of PSUs. Public Enterprise Selection Board has been set up for selecting the cadre of managing directors and top managers in a transparent manner. Companies are graded based on their performance, and performance of PSU is taken as a major criterion for redefining the salaries paid to the employees. These initiatives indicate that the government is moving in the right direction to derive a positive outcome. Hope it will sustain. Well, with my past experience as managing director of many PSUs, I strongly believe that the internal causes are more predominant compared to external causes. And the internal causes of sickness are powerful and decisive in bringing down the performance of many PSUs. However, I am confident that public enterprises can definitely be run successfully provided it is led by competent professionals having proper vision, passion, integrity, and transparency, and work together as a team, and I vouch for it. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. I distinctly recall that a few years back when I took over KML, the largest PSU of Kerala, an alarming stock of about 10,000 metric ton of titanium pigment worth about 150 crores was piled up, and the company was operating on an overdraft of 50 crores. Huge amount was due to the suppliers, and even service benefits to the employees, including DA, leave engagement, etc., were denied on account of the precarious financial position. And the loss-making company was strangled in the clutches of sickness and staring at a potential layoff, as reported by the media. In fact, that year was the worst year for the global titanium pigment industry in the last 10 years, and many multinational companies in the titanium industry registered negative growth, and few were in red during this period. But we could circumvent this crisis through a series of strategic interventions at various levels, with the wholehearted support and cooperation of our employees. The concerted efforts taken up by the management in close collaboration with the employees saved the day. There is no change in the technology, there is no change in the process, challenges or opportunities, all remain the same. But definitely there was a change in the attitude of the employees, which really turned around the company with the divine providence. The success was stemmed from the fact that in our march towards recovery, we did not leave anyone behind us, and we all worked together as a team with a great feeling of oneness and sense of belonging. Together we made a big difference and were successful in putting KMML back on track in a short span of time. And I'm proud that KMML is now at the forefront of turnover and profit among all other PSUs. Yes, we have overcome the crisis, but the challenge is that sustaining recovery persists in an internationally competitive environment, where it is not the question of survival of the biggest or smallest, but the fastest. Philip Kotler, the father of modern marketing, says, in today's competitive market, you have to run much faster even to stay in the same spot. Only those who keep pace with the rapidly changing facets of processing, design, and marketing will survive, and all others fall apart. So it is important that all the employees fully recognize their vision and mission to contribute substantially towards a sustainable growth of the organization. Vision without action is a daydream, and action without vision is a nightmare. We need a unique blend of both vision and action to further accelerate the pace of recovery of our PSUs and to continue to strive hard to meet our expectation with a priority accent on efficiency, ecological compliance, and social inclusion. PSCs should rapidly catch such trends and enhance the efficiency factor by linking, leveraging, and learning. They should be very keen to establish links with dynamic sources of growth, leverage their resources with those sources of growth, and thereby learn to be innovative, because learning is knowledge, knowledge is a source, and innovation is a force. And there is no other option to withstand competitive pressure for efficiency gains. Therefore, I fervently look forward for your apt attention, rapt response, and profound sense of professionalism in all that we do for the cause of a brighter future. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's now the time for question and answer session.
One question to you. You have mentioned about your success story in the KMML. And you also mentioned that there was no technology change, there was no employee change, there was no change of the atmosphere as a whole. But you are able to bring success it. And also you have mentioned that you could secure 100% cooperation from all the employees. How you are able to manage this situation?
That's a good question. In fact, see, basically I look at it, if you want to manage any organization, it is basically man management in common sense. So once you are through, half the problem is over. In fact, when I took over KMML, it was on the verge of layoff, as I rightly mentioned. In fact, my colleague, General Manager, Mr. Nainan, is there. He's now the PTP Managing Director. We worked as a team. In fact, we all took them to our side and we openly discussed. First of all, I formed an Apex committee. It's called, it's a committee of all the top managers there, all GMs. We take decision only through the Apex committee. But there are so many issues which we cannot bring it to the Apex committee, because if you have some other interest, you can't do it, because everything is, done through Apex committee. So there is no flexibility that I have to do something on my own. So we are more transparent as we can. So I think he will be, I said, we got a good team to work together. So that brought out some kind of synergies and some kind of togetherness, and we really led the team. And the results slowly started coming. And at a point of time, whatever we say, they used to accept, because it's proved. The company was, staring at a layoff where even DA was not given. Even leave engagement was not there. Then I said, if you want all this thing, you do what I am trying to do. Then it gave the result also. So then they believed us. Seeing is believing. Please. As long as Biju sir is permission, because I don't know the detail.
You have mentioned about the internal problems. Compared to external problems, internal problems are more and more complex.
Correct.
Can you amplify it? How it is there?
See, internal problems are the real problems. In a closed circle, we can say all these things, but we can't tell it out. See, the leader has to lead really. If the employees got some doubt about the integrity or his transparency, people will not accept you. That is a secret. So internal causes are more predominant than external causes.
He is very modest. It is the style of management.
Exactly.
That is what matters. I think participatory management.
Inclusion. Because we discuss in various levels, you know. I used to go to the plant in the night. I used to talk to even to the workers in a level. I get a lot of information. So we come and discuss in the Apex Council, and they also support. For example, there is a, Nainan will support me in that. There is a, what do you call that, scrubber. So every 2 weeks it gets blocked. And to clean up the whole thing, it takes minimum 4 or 5 shifts. So one day I was walking through the factory. I said, what is this? 4 shifts means minimum 8 lakh rupees per shift, you will be losing it. Then they said, sir, new scrubber has come. We are going to erect it. That will take another 2-3 days. Then I thought, why don't you have a bypass system? You have both the system here. So when this is clogged, you open the other one. And we used to do it in 2 shifts, maximum 2 shifts. So we saved a hell of a lot of money. This idea came from them only, not from me. So we have to go down to earth and talk to them. And if you are a managing director, sit in the AC cabin, nobody is going to. You see, there are different styles of functioning. Some may require that. I was told that there was managing directors who was not entered the factory. Can you believe it? Not entered the factory. So it's a different way of working. My submission is, in the given circumstances, are we doing our best? If not, can we improve? This is the only thing what we can do. We can't have all factors to our side. No? Are we doing our best? If not, can we improve? That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
That is why Dr. Febi is here.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Sir, here, sir. I have 2 specific questions. Like you spoke about, like many of the technologies used by the PSUs were obsolete. Like, could you give us some examples?
See, for example, KEL, they are producing transformers which no takers there. No takers there.
Exactly. Then
the turnover has come down.
1 second, sir. Then you went on to speak about like KSEB procuring transformers from KEL.
No, see that with the change in technology only they can purchase it. What I'm saying is you should develop synergies. Either you produce which is required in the market. You have to produce as per the market requirement. No. So then KSEB can have a tie-up.
No, sir. Then how much?
Now it's not happening because the technology is obsolete.
That's what, sir. Like, so how much of R&D is basically happening?
That
in the
is not
KEL
happening. That R&D is not given any importance. That's why innovation is a force. That's why I said if you can't invent, see you will be out. So R&D has to be strengthened. In KMML you have a separate R&D system. I think 4 or 5 PhD scholars are working there, and we made 2 patented products there. That scoring material. In fact, Mr. Nainan, we are all co-patenters for that. That I used to have silica sand there, and that every time you have to change it. Now they made another product on titanium dioxide itself. Am I right? And that is used now.
And so another question is, like you were speaking about, like the major reason for the PSUs not working profitably is because of the internal causes.
Yeah.
Can you again elaborate, sir? Like give specific examples if possible, other than KMML, sir. Like
I worked in many PSUs.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And sir, to Nair, sir, like I have, sir, I am allowed to ask the questions.
Sir, he's asking.
Yeah, it's late, but you are welcome.
If you want to delay it, you can.
Sir, you were speaking about the legislative intent behind the creation of a PSU. Like if the government of the day decide to suffer the loss and run the activity, then the existence of PSU is justified. My question is, do we actually need a PSU to like achieve the objective? Say for example, I'll take in specific objective which I am aware very recently. We have a company called Kerala Chicken, sir.
Kerala?
Chicken.
Oh.
So which basically they intend to provide chicken at a fair price to the consumer and to ensure a decent enough return for the farmer. Suffering a loss of around 30 rupees per kilo of chicken. This can be achieved by giving a subsidy, right, to the public, if the government is interested. Why do we need to run a company to ensure that the chicken is delivered at the fair price to the consumer?
Well, there is, what you call a conceptual, a philosophical answer, and also a practical one. The first one is that the government of Kerala today decides that providing chicken through a corporation is a desirable objective. Okay? Now, another government can decide that it is not.
Are they rational in that?
Well, that rationality again, Professor, it will be decided not by us sitting here. That rationality is decided at the time of an election. So a party which thinks that supplying chicken at subsidized rate will get it more votes and therefore can come back to power, it will pursue that. You talked about the quality of democracy. Well, ultimately it comes to that. You know, it's a people's government. We are in a democracy. If we decide, we mean the people, you know, we have to recognize that basic principle of a democracy. Now, when India got independence, you see, Churchill felt that the country will be, you know, torn apart. All kinds of, prophecies of doom were there because the people were illiterate. But we have survived and we have made tremendous progress during 75 years. So many things have gone wrong. Whatever he mentioned about the, financial aspects, whatever he mentioned about other things, they're okay. You also have a good question. But my answer is, as I said, if the government of the day in Kerala decides that supplying chicken at 30 rupees to the people is a desirable objective, it will pursue it. I am sorry, I have no other answer. It may not be right from the point of view of you and me. But you and me do not constitute the majority of the people. So democratic principle, I am not qualifying that. You see, you have to bear both the good and the bad. Both the good aspects of democracy and what we think are the bad aspects of democracy, we have to tolerate. Governments keep on changing. You have the liberty to change the government. A government which provides chicken free or a government which provides chicken at 30 rupees while people are not getting proper drinking water. You see, we see that also. Why are we sustaining the Kerala State Transport Corporation? Why are we sustaining the Water Authority? Why means the government, the State Electricity Board. As I said, they are all running on losses. Nobody denies that. Marginally, improvements can be made by the management. But if a product which costs X rupee or 10 rupee is being forced to be sold at 5, it will run into loss. I'm sorry, I have no other answer.
Thank you, sir.
See, the real issue is, can you sustain it for long?
Well, that's why you take loans.
Loan, if it is to be repaid, it is to be repaid. If you cannot, this is an unsustainable process. And the people have to be educated that your big people, your leaders, are not making decisions in the interest of the people, but in the interest of a coterie of people who influence the decision makers. So decision making process, who makes decision for whom? Is it for the people? Is it for somebody else? These are critical democratic values. What is the instrumental role of democracy? What is the intrinsic value of democracy? 100 questions like that also will have to be reflected.
That part is correct, reflected, yes.
Now we are moving on to the presentation of mementos. As a token of love and appreciation, we are handing our mementos. I humbly invite Professor M.A. Umman sir to receive the memento. In order to hand over the memento, I invite Principal Accountant General A&D Srimati G. Sudhamini ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now we are presenting the memento to Sri Dr. Febi Varghese, sir. To present the memento, I invite Principal Accountant General Sri Anim Cheria, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now we are presenting the memento to Sri James K. Joseph, sir. To present the memento, I invite Principal Accountant General Dr. Biju Jacob, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. As the dignitaries have said, we, the field officers of CAG, hope we will be able to work together to help PSU grow bigger to achieve more socio-economic objectives and prioritize accordingly, remaining unbiased. I wish everyone had a pleasant and fruitful evening. As we have come to the end of today's session, I request Senior Deputy Accountant General Administration, Shri P.K. Lalu sir, for delivering the vote of thanks.
ഓഡിറ്റ് ദിവസം 2022 അതിനോടനുബന്ധിച്ച് നടക്കപ്പെട്ട സെമിനാറിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന ആദരണീയ TK നായർ, അവർ ചീഫ് ഗസ്റ്റ്, ജെയിംസ് ജോസഫ് സാറ്, MA ഉമ്മൻ സാറ്, ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസ്, ബിജു ജേക്കബ് സാർ, സുധർമണി മാം, ആനി മാം, മറ്റ് ഇവിടേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന ഇമിനൻ്റ് വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങൾക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും എൻ്റെ സ്നേഹം നിറഞ്ഞ നമസ്കാരം. വളരെ വിശദമായും കാര്യഗൗരവങ്ങൾ ഉൾക്കൊണ്ടുകൊണ്ട് രസകരമായ രീതിയിൽ വളരെ ആഴത്തിൽ ഉൾക്കാഴ്ചയോടുകൂടി ചില വസ്തുതകൾ PSUവിൻ്റെ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ച് നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാർ ഓൺ പബ്ലിക് സെക്ടർ മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റ് ഇൻ കേരള എന്ന ഈ സെമിനാറിലൂടെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കുവാനും വിവരദായകമായ ആശയങ്ങൾ ഭാവി പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾക്ക് ഉതകുന്നതായ പല കാര്യങ്ങളും നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാകുവാനും സാധിച്ചു എന്നത് വളരെ നിസ്സാരമായ കാര്യമല്ല. അവസ്മരണീയമായ വളരെ വിജയകരമായ രീതിയിൽ ഒരു സെമിനാർ സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുവാനും അതിന് നേതൃത്വം നൽകുവാനും എൻ്റെ സഹപ്രവർത്തകർക്കും മറ്റ് ഡിഗ്നറ്ററീസിനും അതിൽ ഭാഗവാക്കായി സാക്ഷ്യം വഹിക്കുവാനും കഴിഞ്ഞതിൽ വളരെ ഭാഗ്യം ലഭിച്ചവരാണ് നമ്മൾ എന്ന കാര്യം ഈ അവസരത്തിൽ ഓർമ്മപ്പെടുത്തുകയാണ്. പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് എൻ്റെ കർത്തവ്യമെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വളരെ നിസ്സാരമായ ഒരു കർത്തവ്യമല്ല. കാരണം ഇന്ന് കേരളത്തിൽ കേരളം മാത്രമല്ല, ഇന്ത്യ ഒട്ടാകമല്ല, ഇൻ്റർനാഷണൽ ലെവലിൽ പോലും വളരെ പ്രഗത്ഭരും വെൽ നോണായിട്ടുള്ള ഡിഗ്നറ്ററീസിന് നമുക്ക് വേദിയിൽ പങ്കെടുപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഇത്തരമൊരു സെമിനാർ സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചു അതിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വരുവാൻ സന്മനസ് കാണിച്ച, നമുക്ക് ചിന്തിക്കുവാൻ പോലും പറ്റാത്ത നിലയിൽ സ്ഥാനവും നമ്മുടെ കോമ്പയർ ഓരോ മഹത് വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചും വിവരിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ വളരെ പ്രകമ്പനം കൊള്ളുകയായിരുന്നു. പ്രൈം മിനിസ്റ്ററുടെ അഡ്വൈസറായിട്ടിരുന്ന്, പഞ്ചാബ് ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ചീഫ് സെക്രട്ടറി ആയിട്ട്, അങ്ങനെ പല മേഖലകളിലും പ്രാവീണ്യവും കഴിവും തെളിയിച്ച ഒരു മഹാവ്യക്തിത്വം TK നായർ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന് നമ്മൾക്ക് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അറിവും കഴിവും പ്രവൃത്തി പരിചയങ്ങളും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ എത്ര ബാലൻസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഓരോ വിവരണങ്ങളും നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ കാതുകളെ കുളിർ ഏൽപ്പിക്കുന്ന രീതിയിൽ അദ്ദേഹം നമ്മളോട് പങ്കിട്ടപ്പോൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് എങ്ങനെ എൻ്റെ വാക്കിൽ നന്ദി പറയണമെന്ന് അറിയാൻ പറ്റാത്ത ഒരു അവസ്ഥയിലാണ് ഞാൻ. അത്രമാത്രം നമ്മളെ ഈ സെമിനാറിനെ അതിൻ്റെ ഉന്നതിയിൽ, അതിൻ്റെ നിലവാരത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ പ്രതീക്ഷിച്ചതിലും അപ്പുറത്തെത്തിക്കുവാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞ നമ്മുടെ ചീഫ് ഗസ്റ്റിന് എല്ലാവരുടെയും, അതുപോലെ കേരള ഫോർമേഷൻ CAG ഓഫീസിൻ്റെ, കേരള ഫീൽഡ് ഓഡിറ്റ് ഓഫീസിൻ്റെ, ഓഡിറ്റ് ഫോർമേഷൻസിൻ്റെ ബിഹാഫിൽ അഗൈതവമായ നന്ദി രേഖപ്പെടുത്തുകയാണ്. പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് എടുത്തു പറയേണ്ട കാര്യം, നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിന് വളരെ ഉൾക്കാഴ്ചയോടും അതുപോലെ വളരെ നേതൃത്വ പാഠത്തോടു കൂടി ഈ സെമിനാറിന് സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുവാൻ വേണ്ടി വളരെ എമിനൻ്റായിട്ടുള്ള എക്കണോമിസ്റ്റ്, അതുപോലെ വളരെ വിവിധ മേഖലകളിൽ പ്രഗത്ഭരായ ഡിഗ്നേറ്ററീസിനെ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിലേക്ക് പങ്കെടുപ്പിക്കുവാനായിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഇതിൻ്റെ ചുക്കാൻ പിടിച്ച് ഈ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ എന്നല്ല, നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഓഡിറ്റ് ദിവസം 2022 എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങൾക്കും ചുക്കാൻ പിടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് മുൻനിരയിൽ പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്ന നമ്മുടെ പ്രിൻസിപ്പൽ അക്കൗണ്ടൻ്റ് ജനറൽമാർ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും എടുത്തു പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ബിജു ജേക്കബ് സാറ്, സുബ്രഹ്മണി മാഡം, ആനും ചെറിയാൻ മാം, വളരെ ആദരണീയരായ കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ CAG ഓഫീസിൻ്റെ നിലയും വിലയും അതിൻ്റെ നാമവും ഉയർത്തിപ്പിടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് മുൻപോട്ട് നമ്മളെ നയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് പോകുന്ന നമ്മുടെ പ്രിൻസിപ്പൽ അക്കൗണ്ടൻ്റുമാർക്ക് പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഞാൻ നന്ദി പറയേണ്ട ഒരു ആവശ്യമില്ല എന്നറിയാമെങ്കിൽ കൂടിയും ഇത്തരമൊരു വലിയൊരു സദസ്സിലെ അറിവിൻ്റെ കേദാരത്തിലേക്ക് എത്തിച്ച, അതിനുവേണ്ടി പ്രയത്നിച്ച, അതിനുവേണ്ടി മുൻനിരയിൽ നിന്ന് പ്രവർത്തിച്ച നമ്മുടെ പ്രിൻസിപ്പൽ അക്കൗണ്ടൻ്റ് ജനറൽമാരെ 3 പേരെയും പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് എടുത്തെടുത്ത് ഞാൻ നന്ദി അർപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. ജെയിംസ് കെ ജോസഫ് സാറിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന ആരോടും തന്നെ ഞാൻ എടുത്ത് വിവരിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. നമ്മൾക്കൊന്ന് ചിന്തിക്കാൻ പറ്റാത്ത വിധം നമ്മളിലെ വളരെ എമിനൻ്റായിട്ടുള്ള ഓഡിറ്റ് ഓഫീസേഴ്സിനെയും അസിസ്റ്റൻ്റ് കോർത്തിണക്കി ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട് ഓഫ് പബ്ലിക് ഓഡിറ്റ് അതിൻ്റെ പ്രസിഡൻ്റ് സ്ഥാനം വഹിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഇന്ന് നടന്ന ഈ സെമിനാറിന് നേതൃത്വം വഹിച്ച നമ്മുടെ പ്രിയങ്കരനായ ആദരണീയനായ നമ്മുടെ ജെയിംസ് കെ ജോസഫ് സാറിന് ഇന്ത്യൻ ഓഡിറ്റ് ആൻഡ് അക്കൗണ്ട്സ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റ് കേരള വിഭാഗത്തിൻ്റെ എല്ലാവിധ നന്ദിയും അർപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിന് ഏറ്റവും പകിട്ടും നമുക്ക് പരസ്പരം അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ഊർജ്ജസ്വലമായ രീതിയിലൊരു ചർച്ച നമുക്ക് മുന്നിലേക്ക് വിതറിത്തന്ന പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട ആദരണീയനായ നമ്മുടെ പ്രൊഫസർ എം.എ. ഉമ്മൻ സാറ്. അദ്ദേഹം എഴുതിയ ബുക്കുകളുടെ നിരകൾ കേട്ടപ്പോൾ തന്നെ നമ്മൾ പലരും ഇവിടെ ഇരുന്ന് വേദിയിൽ ഞെട്ടിപ്പോയി കാണും. അതുപോലെ വളരെ നല്ലൊരു എഴുത്തുകാരൻ, നല്ലൊരു എക്കോണമിസ്റ്റ്, അതുപോലെ 4th സ്റ്റേറ്റ് കമ്മീഷൻ്റെ ചെയർമാൻ, ആ നിലകളിലൊക്കെ പ്രവർത്തിച്ച ഒരു ഡിഗ്നേറ്ററിയെ നമ്മുടെ വേദിയിലേക്ക് കിട്ടുവാനും നല്ല രീതിയിൽ ആരോഗ്യപരമായ രീതിയിൽ ഒരു സെമിനാറിന് പ്രസൻറ്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മളെ ഈ സെമിനാർ വളരെ വിലപ്പെട്ടതും വിവരം നിറഞ്ഞതുമായ ഒന്നാക്കി മാറ്റിയ പ്രൊഫസർ എം.എ. ഉമ്മൻ സാറിന് അഗൈതവമായ നന്ദി ഓഡിറ്റ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ബിഹാഫിൽ അർപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. KMMLൻ്റെ CEO, നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിലെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ PSU, അങ്ങനെ പല മേഖലകളിലും പ്രശോഭിച്ച, ഇന്ന് കേന്ദ്ര സ്റ്റേറ്റ് നിർമ്മിതി കേന്ദ്രത്തിൻ്റെ CEO ആയും ഡയറക്ടറായിട്ടും നിലകൊള്ളുന്ന ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസ് സാറ്. ഫെബി വർഗീസ് സാറിൻ്റെ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നതായ കാര്യങ്ങൾ, എങ്ങനെ ഈ പറയുന്ന പ്രതിസന്ധികളിലൂടെ കടന്നു പോകുന്ന PSUസിനെ എങ്ങനെ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ പരിപോഷിപ്പിച്ച് ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ട രീതിയിലുള്ള, നമ്മുടെ ചീഫ് ഗസ്റ്റ് പറഞ്ഞതായ PSUസിൻ്റെ ഓബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സും ഗവേണൻസും അതിൻ്റെ CSR ഓബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സും റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റീസും ചേഞ്ച് ഇൻ മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റിലൂടെ ഉണ്ടാകുന്നതായ അൺഡൂയിങ് ഓഫ് PSUവും എങ്ങനെ ഓവർകം ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് PSUവിൻ്റെ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെ എഫക്റ്റീവായി എക്കണോമിക്കായി പ്രോഫിറ്റബിലിറ്റിയോടുകൂടി നടത്താം എന്ന് നല്ല രീതിയിൽ, അതിൽ പ്രധാനമായിട്ടും വന്നിട്ടുള്ള ഗ്ലെയറിങ് ഇഷ്യൂസായ നോൺ ഇൻ്റഗ്രേഷൻസും, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ആബ്സൻസ് ഓഫ് പ്രൊഫഷണൽ ബോഡി, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള വിവിധ മേഖലകളെക്കുറിച്ച് വളരെ ചുരുങ്ങിയ രീതിയിൽ നമ്മുടെ മുന്നിൽ അവതരിപ്പിച്ച ആദരണീയനായ നമ്മുടെ ഡോക്ടർ ഫെബി വർഗീസിന് എല്ലാവരുടെയും, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇന്ത്യൻ ഓഡിറ്റ് ആൻഡ് അക്കൗണ്ട്സ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ബിഹാഫിൽ ഞാൻ നന്ദി അർപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ഈ വേദിയിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന എല്ലാ ഡിഗ്നേറ്ററീസിനും ആരുടെയെങ്കിലും പേര് വിട്ടുപോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ സദയം ക്ഷമിക്കണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ഈ സദസ്സിനെ ഇത്രമാത്രം ഊർജവും അതുപോലെ പ്രസന്നതവുമാക്കി മാറ്റിയ ഓരോരുത്തരെയും നാമകരണം എടുത്ത് നന്ദി പറയുവാനുള്ള സമയമല്ല. എല്ലാവരും ഇപ്പോൾ വൈകിയ വേളയിൽ പോകാനുള്ള തിരക്കിലാണെന്നറിയാം. എങ്കിൽ പോലും ഈ തിരക്കേറിയ ജീവിതത്തിലും ഔദ്യോഗിക നിർവഹണത്തിനുമിടയിൽ ഒക്കെ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന പി ഉബൈദുള്ള MLA, നമ്മുടെ PSC മെമ്പർ കൂടിയായ അദ്ദേഹത്തിനെ പ്രത്യേകം എടുത്ത് നന്ദി പറയാതിരിക്കുക നമ്മുടെ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ നടത്തിപ്പിൻ്റെ ഒരു കുറവായി തന്നെ കാണും. അതുകൊണ്ട് എടുത്തു തന്നെ ആ പ്രിയ ലെജിസ്ലേറ്ററിന് എല്ലാവരുടെയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇന്ത്യൻ ഓഡിറ്റ് ആൻഡ് അക്കൗണ്ട്സ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിൻ്റെയും നാമത്തിൽ നന്ദി രേഖപ്പെടുത്തുന്നു. നമുക്കറിയാം, ഇന്ന് കേരള ഗവർണർ ഭാരിച്ച ഉത്തരവാദിത്തങ്ങൾ, അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ഉപദേശങ്ങളും മാർഗങ്ങളും ഒക്കെ നിർദ്ദേശിച്ചു കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഗവർണറുടെ സെക്രട്ടറി ഡോക്ടർ ദേവേന്ദ്രകുമാർ ധൊഡാവരെ ഈ വേദിയിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന് ഈ സദസ്സിനെ ധന്യമാക്കി. അദ്ദേഹത്തിനും ആ ആദരണീയ മഹൽ വ്യക്തിക്കും എല്ലാവരുടെയും അതുപോലെ ഇന്ത്യൻ ഓഡിറ്റ് ആൻഡ് അക്കൗണ്ട്സ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ അഗൈതമായ നന്ദി അർപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. അതുപോലെ TTPL CEO ശ്രീ ജോർജ് നൈനാൻ. നമുക്കറിയാം, TTPL പോലെയുള്ള സ്ഥാപനത്തിൻ്റെ CEO അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ആ തിരക്കേറിയ സമയത്തിനിടയിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാർ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് നമ്മുടെ ഇത്രയും പ്രഗത്ഭരായ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ അതിൻ്റെ അവതരണം ഒക്കെ കേൾക്കുവാനും അതിൽ ഭാഗവാക്കാകുവാനും ഒക്കെ നമ്മളോടൊപ്പം പങ്കുചേർന്ന ശ്രീ ജോർജ് നയനാന് പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദി അർപ്പിച്ചുകൊള്ളുന്നു. അതുപോലെ VSSCയിൽ നിന്നും നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്നതായ സീനിയർ ഫിനാൻഷ്യൽ അഡ്വൈസർ മിസ് ബീന, സീനിയർ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റീവ് ഓഫീസർ മിസ് ഗീത, എല്ലാവർക്കും അവിടുന്ന് VSSCയെ റെപ്രസെൻ്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്ന ആ മഹത് വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങൾക്ക് അഗൈതമായ നന്ദി അർപ്പിച്ചുകൊള്ളുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിന് എല്ലാവരെയും സ്വാഗതം നൽകി നമ്മുടെ ഈ വേദിയെ വളരെ നല്ലൊരു തുടക്കം കുറിച്ച നമ്മുടെ സീനിയർ ഡെപ്യൂട്ടി അക്കൗണ്ടൻറ്റ് ജനറൽ യശോദമ്മ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് എൻ്റെ സഹപ്രവർത്തകയായ യശോദമാമന്, അതുപോലെ മറ്റ് കടന്നു വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന സീനിയർ ഡെപ്യൂട്ടി അക്കൗണ്ടൻറ്റ് ജനറൽമാർ, മറ്റ് സീനിയർ എക്സിക്യൂട്ടീവ്സ്, നമ്മുടെ കേരള CAG ഫീൽഡ് ഫോർമേഷൻ്റെ വിവിധ ഓഫീസുകളിൽ നിന്നും ഈ വേദിയിലേക്ക് കടന്നു വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന സീനിയർ ഓഫീസേഴ്സ്, സീനിയർ ഓഡിറ്റ് ഓഫീസേഴ്സ്, എല്ലാവരുടെയും പേരെടുത്ത് പറയുവാനായിട്ട് സാധിക്കുന്നില്ല. എല്ലാവരും പോകാനുള്ള വെമ്പലിലാണെന്നറിയാം. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ എല്ലാവർ നാമം എടുത്തെടുത്ത് പറഞ്ഞു എന്ന് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ വാക്കിലൂടെ പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് എല്ലാവർക്കും നന്ദി അർപ്പിച്ചുകൊള്ളുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് പ്രേയറോടുകൂടി തുടക്കം കുറിക്കുവാനായിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ റിക്രിയേഷൻ ക്ലബിൻ്റെ മെമ്പേഴ്സ് എത്ര മനോഹരമായി, ആ തുടക്കമാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാറിനെ ഇത്രമാത്രം വിജയത്തിൻ്റെ ഉന്നതിയിലേക്ക് എത്തിച്ചത്. ഒരു പ്രയറിന് ഇത്രമാത്രം ശക്തി ഉണ്ടെന്ന് ഇപ്പോഴാണ് എനിക്ക് പോലും മനസ്സിലായത്. അത് വളരെ അനുഗ്രഹപ്രദമായ രീതിയിൽ ഇത് നിർവഹിച്ച നമ്മുടെ ക്ലബ്ബ് മെമ്പേഴ്സിന് പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇതിലൊക്കെ ഉപരി നമ്മുടെ ഈ വലിയൊരു ടീമിൻ്റെ ഫോർമേഷനാണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ എല്ലാത്തിൻ്റെയും വൻ വിജയവും ഇതിൻ്റെ നല്ലൊരു പരസമാപ്തിയിലേക്ക് നമ്മളെ എത്തിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതിൽ പ്രധാനമായിട്ടും എടുത്തു പറയേണ്ടത് ജെയിംസ് ജോസഫ് സാറ് പ്രസിഡൻ്റായി നിലകൊള്ളുന്ന IPAIയുടെ പ്രവർത്തകരെല്ലാവരും തന്നെ വളരെ സജീവമായി ഈ സെമിനാറിൽ ഊർജ്ജവത്തോടുകൂടി അവരുടെ പ്രായവും അവരുടെ മറ്റ് വ്യക്തിപരമായിട്ടുള്ള മറ്റ് പല സാഹചര്യങ്ങളും മറന്നുകൊണ്ട് കടന്നു വന്ന് ഇതിനെ വളരെ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ നമ്മുടെ സെമിനാറിനെ ഊർജ്ജസ്വലമാക്കി അവർക്ക് ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും CAG ഓഫീസിൻ്റെ കേരള ഫോർമേഷൻ ഓഫ് ഓഫീസേഴ്സിൻ്റെ അഗൈതവുമായ നന്ദി രേഖപ്പെടുത്തുകയാണ്. അതുപോലെ നമ്മുടെ ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് ചുക്കാൻ പിടിച്ച നമ്മുടെ വെൽഫെയർ ഓഫീസർ, അതുപോലെ മറ്റ് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ, ജനറൽ സെക്ഷൻസ്, എല്ലാ വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങൾക്കും, എല്ലാ സീനിയർ ഓഫീസേഴ്സിനും പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദി അർപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. അതിലൊക്കെ ഉപരി ഈ സദസ്സിനെ ധന്യമാക്കി തീർത്ത ഈ സദസ്സിലിരിക്കുന്ന ഓരോരുത്തരെയും, നമ്മുടെ പ്രഗത്ഭരായ വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങളുടെ, ആദരണീയ വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങളുടെ ആ അവതരണങ്ങൾ മുട്ടുസൂചി പിന്നിൻ്റെ നിശബ്ദതയോടുകൂടി അതിനെ വൻ വിജയമാക്കുന്ന രീതിയിൽ, അതിനെ വളരെ ഒരു സ്പോർട്സ്മാൻ സ്പിരിറ്റ് എന്ന് വേണേൽ പറയാം, അതോ അതിലപ്പുറത്താണ്. അങ്ങനെ ഈ സദസ്സിനെ വളരെ ധന്യമാക്കി തീർത്ത ഈ സദസ്സിലും വേദിയിലും ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും, ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദി അർപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഇന്ന് ഇതിനെ പ്രിസൈഡ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന നമ്മുടെ ബിജു ജേക്കബ് സാറിൻ്റെ അനുവാദത്തോടുകൂടി ഇന്നത്തെ സെമിനാർ പിരിച്ചുവിടുന്നതായി പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചുകൊള്ളുന്നു.
ഒരു മിനിറ്റ് ഒരു ചെറിയ കാര്യം. നമ്മൾ നന്ദി പറയേണ്ട ഒരാളുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ VSSC ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമുക്ക് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് ആൾക്കാർ ക്യൂ നിൽക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. AG ഓഫീസിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരാളെ കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് വളരെ പ്രയാസപ്പെട്ടാണ് കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചത്, വില്ലിംഗ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള. അപ്പം വളരെ സ്തുത്യർഹമായ രീതിയിൽ 2 ദിവസം നമ്മുടെ മീറ്റിങ്ങുകളെല്ലാം നിയന്ത്രിച്ച അക്കൗണ്ട്സിലെ അസിസ്റ്റൻ്റ് അക്കൗണ്ട്സ് ഓഫീസർ ശ്രീ ജെ നവോമിയാണ്. ജെ നവോമിയെ ഒന്ന് കൈയടിച്ച് ഒന്ന് പ്രോത്സാഹിപ്പിച്ചേ. ഷീ ഈസ് വർക്കിംഗ് ഇൻ PF സെക്ഷൻ, GPFിലാണ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ബേസിക്കലി ആൻഡ് എൻജിനീയർ ഓൾസോ. അപ്പം നവോമിയോടുള്ള ആടെ ആ പ്രത്യേക ടാലൻസിനെ അഭിനന്ദിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നവോമിക്ക് ഒരു ചെറിയ മൊമെൻറ്റോ കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അത് കൊടുക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ജെയിംസ് കെ ജോസഫ് സാറിനെ വിളിക്കും.
With the national anthem, we are concluding today's program. Everyone is requested to kindly join the feast.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।